I can't take this Pikachu serious.
Yeah, I mean, nonetheless, people are watching these. So
Yeah.
I think the now is a
That's
great time.
amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a Pikachu card like that. That is so cool.
Yeah, it does look really cool actually. That's super collectible. Like I've never seen something like that.
Yeah, it's
Nonetheless,
art. So.
it's been outperforming our crypto, and I'm trying to figure out why and how I can get some action on this. So Buddha, maybe you can tell us a little bit more. Welcome to the show. How are we pronounce this? Is it fast Buddha, base Buddha?
Base Buddha.
Base Buddha. Let's go. I love it. Base Buddha. It's got a nice ring to it. First question: why the heck are cards outperforming my crypto?
I mean, even if we look back, I feel like we're in a bit of a mania right now. But even 2-3 years ago, Pokemon cards were a historic great place to park your cash, right? They've trended upwards since their release in the late 1990s. At least Pokemon has, and I mean historically outperforming the S&P 500. That's not a topic that's just relevant this year, right? They've been doing that. Collectibles are one of the hottest growing markets over the last 30 years, and it's one part nostalgia and one part which we're kind of experiencing right now, a bit of mania and a bit of FOMO. You've got all these people that are being able to trade these cards at speeds like you have never been able to do before. Even just 10 years ago, if you wanted to grab a great card, you had to go to eBay or you had to find that card in a private sale at a convention or something. We've brought these on chain. eBay's ripping really quickly. You've got other platforms like Whatnot. You've got the on-chain experience like Collector Crypt and many others that just allow price action to kind of find its demand in the market way quicker than you ever have been before. So we're definitely seeing a lot of the hype right now, but this sentiment of collectibles increasing in value is nothing new.
Yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked. So I want to get to all this stuff later. But for the new listeners or people that aren't familiar with yourself or was it Collector Crypt, can you maybe tell us a bit about your background and then we'll get into the business that you've been building that's been doing so phenomenal?
Yeah, I'd love to. My background, I guess, in crypto starts in 2013 when I was a broke college student and I could not afford to watch a UFC fight. So there was this guy on Reddit that, if you tipped him in Bitcoin, he'd let you into his live stream for $5. So I found out what Bitcoin was.
Amazing.
It paid for a semester of school back in 2014. The world's most expensive semester of school now, probably, at Bitcoin at 125. That semester of school was probably 3.5 million or something. It is what it is.
I have some old T-shirts like that too.
I stuck around for the ICO days, tried to read every white paper I could in 2017. And really, I went to college for environmental science. I had a 10-year background in cartography and map making, 3D model making. And 2021 rolls around and I hear about this metaverse idea. And I'm like, oh, this is my chance, right? Like I do this for a living. Let me get into the metaverse and fully immerse myself. And that led to my obsession in Web3 and just being on chain in general. I have previously started some of my own NFT projects, worked my way up to a marketing position at Magic Eden to really share my love of NFTs and collectibles. Nice. And we launched the go-to-market for Magic Eden's version of what PAX was in partnership with Collector Crypt over the summer of last year. And it's just, natural that I've transitioned to what my true passion was all along, which is Pokemon cards. And I've actually been at Collector Crypt now for all of 3 weeks, but I have been an avid supporter and enjoyer with our relationship at Magic Eden for about a year now.
Can I ask about the NFT crowd versus the collectible crowd? So I'm an OG NFT guy going back to Punks in 2017. And like kind of when 2021 rolled around, Gary V's doing Punks, all the streamers were like buying them up, and then Bored Ape came along and all, it just kind of took off. People talked about like, oh, trading cards this, trading cards are still there. But like the NFT crowd was like, no, it's digital collectibles because it's like fungible. I can stake it and loan against it, all this kind of stuff. But physical collectibles ended up being the winner here for the most part. 99% of NFTs other than Punks basically have gone to zero. What are your, like back then in the NFT boom when you're working with Magic Eden, did you always think physical over digital, or like what kind of was your frame of reference there? Did you always say, no, that the physical collectibles are just not as cool as my digital ape avatar?
I'm not dodging your question, I swear, but I really think like that phygital existence is Trump here, right? I've got physical Pokemon cards that I love and adore and hang out with. Here's a Sabrina's Band Gengar. Just got this bad boy the other day.
Banger.
My more expensive cards, I have 2 Pitbulls at home. I don't want a $1,600 Charizard anywhere near them. They're going to devour it into pieces. And I really enjoy live music and stuff as well. And a lot of the concerts that I attend sell posters. And how great of an idea is assigning a QR code to this poster and being able to trade, the art of that poster and the art of the actual physical thing and sit up on your wall. You can speculate about it online. There's a number of things that you can do to bring RWAs on chain. And I think, while our apes might be down in the gutter at present moment, they really did prove one thing, which is that folks love to collect things. The speed of the internet helps you collect things and discover a price value for them a lot quicker than you could if they just remained physical. And I really think the thesis for RWAs, NFTs crawled so RWAs could walk, if you will.
So then based on your findings, like why are people today using Solana to collect trading cards rather than collecting the physical cards? You kind of just answered it a bit there, but like, what is the shift you're seeing?
For the longest time, you got these cards at just conventions or at eBay, right? And you walk around a trading card expo, and if you're lucky, a dude's going to give you 70% on what your card is worth, right? You've had this card for years. It's gone up in value. You have to just immediately expect that you're going to eat 30% of your profits by going to a stinky neckbeard at a convention to buy your card from you. Conversely, if you want to set it on eBay, that has a number of problems as well. eBay is a great platform to buy and trade things. I've found a couple of chase cards from eBay, but as a seller, you're paying 10 to 15% in to eBay for every sale that you make, particularly if you run ads and all of that. Fraud is still very much a thing. It's rampant. There's nefarious buyers just as much as there's nefarious sellers. If you're a seller, you sell a card to someone, eBay buyer protections are a lot stronger than eBay seller protections. And now all of a sudden, you've just shipped a $500 card to someone. They said it arrived damaged. They said it's not the card that they ordered. They could be lying through their teeth, but eBay is going to default to protecting the buyer, at least the first time that they make a claim, right? And conversely, if you're a buyer, you can get burned by a seller. You buy a card for $400. Jake Paul tweets about it on accident or something, and now it's an $800 card, and lo and behold, the seller had to cancel your order because they actually didn't have it. There's a number of these cases where price fluctuations and all of this are leading people to chase profit instead of honoring their trades. So, we've kind of flipped the script with that at Collector Crypt, and Solana allows us to post these cards, prove that they're cert numbers. Every single card has a cert number. It's vaulted, it's tokenized. You can trade this instantly to anybody that you want on an agreed upon price of your choosing. So it really puts the power back in the buyer and the seller's hands to make a mutual deal with someone that is interested in what they're buying or selling. And we're not scraping all these fees off the top. You go to Collector Crypt Marketplace, it's 2% either way, buyer, seller. You do that on eBay, like I said, at 14 upwards percent sometimes. You go to a convention, it could be as high as 30% that you're going to lose on a sale. So I think just it's the least frictionless, it's the path of least resistance, and it also allows for you to not get wrung out by this middleman that's going to skim something off the top for every transaction.
Yeah, so maybe we should walk this back a little bit. Obviously, you said you've been here not too long, on the team. So maybe you're still figuring out everything. But like, what was the vision here in terms of, hey, we need to build like a virtual way to collect cards rather than the alternative and the thing we've been doing for years and years and years. Let's do something a little different. Like, what was that vision? What's the thinking from the team here in terms of where we're headed and why we decided to do this?
So that vision from our CEO of Twam actually, its inception started around 2017 with CryptoKitties and punks, and there was a real RWA discussion back then as well about tokenizing houses and tokenizing concert tickets and the token contracts and the gas prices in 2017 just did not allow for you to trade a $40 card back and forth at a high speed on ETH. L2s didn't exist at the time. 2021 rolls around. Now you've got better token standards. Solana is having its heyday. Our founders were really participating in gobbling up Solana monkey business and geckos and everything else that Solana NFT system had to offer. And they're like, okay, now's the time. There were a number of vaulting partners at the time, like PWCC and PSA are actual Web2 storage places that have worked closely with eBay for a number of years before this. You can vault your actual card. You can sell it on eBay. It doesn't have to move hands, right? That was its Web2 infrastructure. And our founders were like, okay, how can we take PWCC's model of this vaulting technology, bring this on chain and allow for an even faster and more transparent, transaction to take place here. So these guys started, we didn't just launch this gotcha machine, the marketplace, the platform all in one, right? It actually started as batches of 150 at a time, like mystery packs, right? So Collector Crypt would do a mint. There'd be 150 mystery packs. After the mint was done, they would unveil themselves, and now you've got your tokenized Pokemon card.
And did you guys create an alternative to PWCC and PSA?
So we actually use, I believe, 3 vaulting partners at the moment.
Okay.
PWCC, PSA, a third one that I'm not familiar with. But we are actually looking to internalize all of these processes as well,
right,
and produce our own vault with Web2 inspiration, but built for the Web3 future, the on-chain future of these assets.
What goes into these? Because I think people think it's like, oh, just a storage room with Pokemon cards and a filing in their plastic cases, and then there's a digital version of it. Like, are they scanned? Like, what's all the technology involved with vaulting?
Yeah, so as I showed earlier, right, every card has a little barcode and a serial number. And you look up that serial number with your grading company, and it says, yes, hey, this Bulbasaur was a PSA 10. It does exist here. This is what it looks like. This is who owns it. This is where it came from. All of that stuff. So there, it's a little piece of data that we are using to verify the legitimacy that this card exists, right? So all of this inventory is taken to these vaults. They're scanned in. You get a nice high-resolution photo of the front and the back. And it's taken into our warehouse, which is a lot more than just a building, right? We're talking about $25 million in tokenized assets right now that Collector Crypt owns and operates. And, that takes some sophistication. There are a ton of people working at this vault day and night, working on inventory, correcting price, managing shipments, you name it. It really does take a village to make sure that price action is being updated. Folks are getting their packs when they order them. And, most importantly, that the place is safe. The roof's not leaking. Your sealed collection isn't being dribbled on every couple of minutes by the rain. It's a pretty intense process. And when we can take all of that ownership in and manage, every single system in this vehicle here, it gives us a warm and fuzzy feeling at night.
Can you do me a favor? We love walking through like the economics of this business, and we want to understand how you guys turn margin dollars on this, and just how you've turned this into something so successful and big. We can see the meteoric rise of cards on chain, and like you guys have been smashing through. I think this is even old at this point. Newer charts look even better. But tell me a little bit about the economics behind this business and how you guys are generating and turning a profit here.
Yeah, so I think checking Blockworks last week, first of all, March was the best month we've ever had. The last 2 weeks, I think, were the best 2 weeks we've ever had. And a week ago, we had our 2 best days back to back that we've ever had.
Congratulations.
So we are seeing this rise. And, again, the Pokemania, if you will, is picking up a little bit. But it really is proof to the signal that Collector Crypt is the absolute best place to engage in gacha on chain. And it proves that. We've got one of the highest revenues, but we're not rinsing our customers at all. We have about a 4 or 5% profit margin baked into here if you are to re-roll all of your cards. But for someone, looking and maybe interested in participating, the actual expected value of all of our packs is positive. If you were to spend $1,000 in the $50 pack and you kept every single one of those, you're going to end up with, maybe $1,100 in packs or $1,050 in packs based on the EV at the time of participation. It's usually 5 to 10% on every single one of our gachas. So that revenue that you're seeing here, yeah, we're taking, between 4 and 5% of that, depending on the day, depending on the chances of cards that are being ripped. And, the profit on revenue is one of the lowest in the industry. And that's why we've seen this meteoric rise in revenue is, again, because we're not rinsing our customers when they come here. We have the highest rate of cards kept on chain as well. So folks are coming to our gacha machines, they're participating, they're finding cards that they enjoy, and they're keeping them, they're having them sent to their house. And, we really pride ourselves on being a place for collectors by collectors. This isn't a casino in any sense of the imagination. We're not encouraging you to come over here and drop 50 grand chasing a $80,000 Charizard. That's not how this works on Collector Crypt.
Interesting. Can you walk me through the process then? Let's say I want to start collecting, or I am a collector and I want to start using your gacha machines. How does that actually work? Is this predominantly gacha? You have a marketplace I see as well. Can you walk everyone through like what is a gacha machine in the first place? But can you just tell us how this works as someone who maybe wants to get on here and start collecting themselves?
Of course. So a gacha machine is just a real resealed engine. It's a randomized little vending machine here that we've personified it to be. But there are price points here for everyone. I'm a $50 pack guy. I know a lot of people that like the $250 pack, and we've got some high rollers in our Discord that love the $1,000 gacha machine just because of all of the crazy chase cards inside of it. I think there's a $35,000 Charizard hanging out in our $1,000 gacha machine right now. But the $50 gacha machine has a $5,000 Entei in it, so you can kind of pick what interests you at the time. We also offer One Piece and sports cards if you're into that sort of thing. But there's a trading card and a price point here really for everyone. And we're checking out the Elite Pack right now. The expected value of the Elite Pack looks to be $55.25. Again, so another positive EV. If you were to spend $1,000 on this thing, you're going to end up with about a 10% profit if you kept every single one of those cards that you spun. So if you're a One Piece fan, we've seen One Piece just got to double digits in our revenue weekly. So about 10% of our revenue is coming from One Piece. We've seen a nice little bump in the attention for One Piece cards here recently. That machine is awesome as well. Again, I'm that $50 price pack guy. That's what's comfortable for me. But it really depends on the chase cards in these machines. Sometimes a $250 chase will have. I'm pretty big on my Gengars and my Bulbasaurs. So if there's a badass Gengar or Bulbasaur in another machine, I'm playing that.
What's a chase card?
So a chase card is a, just a high value card you'd love to have.
Right. Okay.
This Sabrina's Gengar, for example, that I was showing off earlier, I think is about $400 or $500. I would never buy that. I mean, I would, but it's way cooler to get it out of a $50 gacha machine, which I did.
So these are OG cards that are mixed into some sort of randomizer, and then they spit out. It's not like you're getting brand new packs that you're opening and whatnot. Okay.
So there is a little bit of sealed in our gacha machines too, and every once in a while we will run just a sealed gacha machine event. So you can find your sealed booster boxes, your expeditions, some of the newer stuff. I actually got a Moltres Premium EX big booster bundle from an event that took place in November of last year. So we're always trying to keep people on their toes. We just released a Gachopia machine, an homage to Pokopia. There's a Mew only machine right now. We like to keep it fresh with themes, and from time to time, we'll load up a machine with just Pikachus or just Gengars or something, and it's just a real quick timed event for people who are paying attention to go and take place in.
And so you mentioned something I found really, really interesting. You said this is actually plus EV, right? Mathematically, if you play enough, it'll actually be positive for you. How the heck do you guys achieve that? That doesn't even like it doesn't make sense, right?
So when we're sourcing our cards, we're doing 7-figure deals at a time. That typically does not occur at market rate, right? We're getting a discount on the cards to begin with before they even go into the gotcha machine. Our buyers are finding us deals and opportunities to procure high value cards, for a bit of a discount. So that goes into it. That's baked in. We get $100 card for maybe $85. We've got a 15% margin before it even goes in the machine, right? Additionally, the buyback on the cards is where that starts to be EV negative for the user. If you're just ripping and you're hunting one chase card and you're buying, selling back, buying, selling back, buying, selling back, the buyback, depending on the machine, is between 85% and 93%. So while the expected EV, if you kept every single card, it is positive. It is provably positive. If you were to sell those back every single time, depending on the machine, you would start to incur, the loss based on the buyback percentage.
Got you. I want to ask, just like, why is this Pokemania, as you call it, popping off? I mean, we see Logan Paul is doing the big thing on his Courtyard platform where he's selling these cards, and like it seems like everyone's kind of getting into it. But like, what's the reasoning behind this?
It's it's a multitude of things. It's almost chaos theory a little bit here, right? It's unpredictable from one day to the next. We're almost seeing like newer cards for some reason have a way higher market value than vintage. And I'm a vintage guy. Most of the cards that I collect are from 1999 to 2005. That was my childhood that I really enjoyed collecting. And I brought all my cards to school in my pocket, so they're not nice and pretty anymore. So I'm going
No
after
PSA
vintage.
10s.
No, there's definitely. In fact, I don't know if I can find. Let me see here. I can't find it. But anyways, just for fun, I graded my childhood Charizard. It got a 4. It was in my pocket on the bus every single day. I love that card.
Right.
But back to your point, I think we're seeing a lot of the very high value cards are seeing a meteoric rise. You were just looking at a Poncho Pikachu on the screen earlier. Those are going for about $20,000 right now. A Poncho Pikachu 2 years ago was $3,500. And, it's a bit of a status symbol. It's a bit of people catching on and wanting to procure these highly sought after cards to further drive the speculation and drive profit. But you're not seeing that with every card. A lot of the vintage hasn't taken off yet. A lot of the cool special illustration rares from modern sets haven't taken off yet. You can hone in on an artist that sometimes drives the price. The right person will say the right thing about a specific artist. The next day it's viral. Everyone wants that card. So because we're able to procure these cards very quickly now, you're seeing the price action on some of these viral cards really rocket up in value. And, sometimes a card being worth money makes it worth more money because people think it's going to be worth more money, right? We've got the speculation aspect in here as well. And what else didn't exist 3 years ago was platforms like Collector Crypt, like Courtyard, like Fidgetals that are actively buying inventory in these high value asset classes to have these tantalizing cards on our platform. So it really is a storm of events that's leading to what you love. And that's what I do. Let me go find a PSA 9 Bulbasaur because I really like the art. Or a lot of these cool cards are relatively stable in value. You've got your Ponchos, you've got the old vending machine sets, you've got your Charizards, of course, your Expeditions. Gold Stars are really popping off right now as well. I once got a 4 in your gotchas. No, I will never sell my Charizard. That was somebody else's 4.
Let's go. Yeah, that PSA 4 is worth more than PSA 10s in your eyes, I'm sure.
That
invaluable.
Somehow I managed to keep that for 25 years. That means the world to me.
Top Fumbler, this is the classic, like when you're trading in the schoolyard, you slip in a couple into the bundle that were no good and hope they didn't notice, No, I'm kidding.
Let's see. We typically wait till the end to do community queues, but we got a few loaded up. So I'm going to fire a few at you here mid-show, and maybe you can answer some. Okay. Crypto Jones says, how is a card withdrawn and what sort of costs are implicated in doing so? Very straightforward question.
Yeah. So you can go onto your profile at any time for any cards that you've drawn, or maybe you've purchased them. They'll show up in your collection on Collector Crypt. You burn the NFT to claim your card. So it no longer exists on chain once you claim it. And how we're able to do that, the NFT goes over to inventory, you burn your card. I think it's, maybe $8 to claim a card. Once that inventory is burned, it's sent out from one of our vaulting locations. We currently have 3 vaulting partners. And if you're here in stateside, it takes, a week or 2 to get your card. If you're international, it can take, 3 to 4 weeks right now, given our
situation.
the situation of our trade currently. the Gengar, for example, was at my doorstep in 2 weeks once I ordered it. I've had cards get to my doorstep in 5 days. I've had cards take about 3 weeks. We've noticed the PSA vault is a little bit slower right now. They're grading something like 80,000 cards a day somehow. Their vault is massive. Their lag times are tremendous. And that's one of the reasons that we're looking to kind of own this vaulting and shipping process as well, is to speed these things up. But for now, pick a card you like. I think it's a $4 processing fee, $4 shipping fee. And if you bundle those cards, you save even more. And you can expect something to arrive on your doorstep pretty quickly after you claim that card.
And talk to me about those two features you said you're kind of looking to take in house here. Is that value going to come from just saving money on the tail end of doing it all yourself, or are you going to be offering that to other people as well?
Yeah. If you look into the ecosystem, we actually have a number of partners right now that are keying into our inventory. So whether it's a partner buying shelf space to hold their own inventory, or it's us expanding our inventory to such a great amount that we're able to take on multiple partners. I mentioned Magic Eden in the beginning. They've got a great UI and a great platform. The entire backend and the entire inventory and the gotcha system, that's Collector Crypt technology. It's Collector Crypt inventory. So as we expand our own inventory, we're able to offer these services to a number of different people in a number of different chains. We've got Slab Cash. That's another one of our partners of ours, as well as Renee's that takes place on the B&B chain. So owning all the inventory and not paying the fees on the cards, and dealing with long lag times if PW or PSA is really bogged down, benefits us tremendously. We're able to get cards out faster. We're able to take on more inventory, and it's less cost for us because we're not paying a middleman.
Sweet. A few more questions from Pop Fumbler, who seems to be an avid card collector or DGen. I'm not sure what gambler maybe. He says we need dynamic insured pricing on CC though. Doesn't make sense to have static value in this market. Can you just explain to everyone what that means and maybe thoughts?
Yeah, so dynamic pricing would refer to, I've built a web scraper in the past, right? That takes price charting and eBay, and it combines all the last recent sales and spits out a number. Why that's not the safest thing to do right now, particularly in the environment that we're in, is you can get some spoof trades first of all on chain, but when we decide the pricing of cards, we pull from a number of different sources. So we are updating these cards at least weekly when they go through, and we're doing that in a manual process right now, I believe. So we're looking at all of the recent sales. We're looking at off market, on market, to determine the best fair value for that. Wholeheartedly agree that we should have something that's a more holistic approach or a quicker turnaround for these processes. Certainly in the works, as our marketplace V2 will be coming to fruition here in the next month or so.
And I'm going to squeeze in one of my questions before we keep on with these community ones. But you mentioned One Piece is now doing 10% of the revenue on chain for the gotcha machine. That's incredible, especially considering it hasn't been around for super long in terms of your offerings. How are you guys looking at that success and thinking, okay, we got to open the market to this brand and these cards?
Yeah, it's like, what's the next runner going to be, right? One Piece really took off. Is Dragon Ball Z the next runner? I know Yu-Gi-Oh is doing a full art print now. They've got, for the first time ever, I think in Yu-Gi-Oh history, they've got cards with full art on the front of the cards, meaning the entire card is the art scene. I think a Blue Eyes White Dragon from a new set is fetching 5 figures instantly. So that may be the next runner. We also have a lot of interest for Magic and folks that want to take in and trade Magic cards, but a lot of the interest on Magic isn't graded cards. Folks want, the raw cards that they can literally go in and play with, right? So we're staying on our heels. Like we are a very agile team that's opened a number of gotcha machines over the last year to meet demand and hype. We've actually got a machine launching here pretty soon in partnership with Azuki. The gotcha machine will be featuring their trading card game launch as well. So that's something you guys can look forward to. Our CEO is a giant Magic the Gathering buff. That was the first collection that he ever got into. So if he has his way, we may see some MTG gotcha machines in the near future as well. We want to pivot to demand. We've got our staples. We've got sports. We've got Pokemon. One Piece is based on the charts, quickly becoming a staple of ours as well. And we'd love to branch out and meet the demand and the excitement of our eco, because I collected Pokemon as a child. I also collected Yu-Gi-Oh when I got into 6th grade, because Pokemon was for babies and Yu-Gi-Oh was for adults, right?
Talking about the market structure here a little bit, back to Pokemon. I noticed that the manufacturer of Pokemon cards was opening a factory, a big expansion in North America, slated to be open 2027, 2028. I just want to know your thoughts. Like, do you think there's a supply and demand dynamic here, where if Pokemon, the franchise says, oh, look at all this demand for our cards, we're just going to print new cards. Like, do they threaten kind of the market here? Or how do you see the dynamic of supply and demand playing out in these markets like Pokemon cards?
Yeah, so I have heard this news. I think it'll be.
And is this news or a rumor? It could be a rumor. I've just heard it
I think this is actually happening, and
yeah.
and in their mind, it's going to allow them to get reprints out faster. So when a set's launched, we're in the mega excuse me, we're in the Mega Evolution set right now. Phantasmal Flames and Ascended Heroes were really, really highly sought after. That may trigger a reprint. Previous collection for Scarlet and Violet, the Prismatic Evolutions, the EVs, were crazy, crazy highly sought after. So were Destined Rivals. We've seen a number of reprints from Prismatic Evolutions as well. But what we haven't seen is a record number of the chase cards. I think they call it Tragic Evolutions right now because you buy a ton of packs and you don't pull anything. So if Pokemon increases their numbers to meet a fan base that really wants to collect and wants to play the game, that's fine. I think they're wise and will know that the scarcity is what drives some of the real top of the pyramid speculation and buying. And I doubt that you're going to see, something like a Sumbreon just get printed into oblivion so much that people don't like it anymore.
Curious to ask you this. Who are you guys? Are you guys onboarding new participants? Is this mainly crypto bros you're onboarding, or is this like, hey, we now have actual card collectors who just love this stuff coming onto Solana now and trading our gacha and trading on our marketplace?
So we have, again, I've referenced the number of buyers and stuff that we have that work for us. They go to these conventions, they procure cards. More and more people know Collector Crypt now. And so now it's our job to take our website and make it completely user-friendly, for your average crypto adjacent person. They may have $50 in Coinbase sitting somewhere, right? They may have just have heard of Solana and Bitcoin and, want nothing to do with it, but they want to procure these cards in a faster and safer way. That is ramping up a ton. So, as I mentioned, it's our job now to make our website and the crypto rails on our website feel as frictionless as possible. So we are able to onboard, your average user that just wants to find the Dragonite they've been chasing for a couple of months and they haven't been able to find it, or, they're constantly being outbid on eBay. We have a number of tools actually in our Discord that, don't require you to interact with our platform at all. We've got a ton of, tools that allow you to enter the Discord, interact with sniping tools on eBay to procure physicals as well. So yes, there's a number of things that we're looking to do to onboard your average user this year who may even have a negative sentiment of crypto.
And why was Solana the blockchain of choice to just power these rails?
L2s were in discussion in 2021 when our founders were first, finding a place to land. I think some conversations with Polygon were had and a couple of other L2s that, made the gas prices more enticing, right? But we landed on Solana after a few bad L2 discussions with BD teams. And, Solana was really where our founders were participating in the NFT marketplace the most. So it was one part passion, one part good dialogue with leadership teams at these foundations, and another part low cost, high speeds, low cost, easy transactions.
Totally aligned.
Before we get talking about the token a little bit, because I do want to get into that, and Dom, I'll make sure your questions get answered. There are some top Fumbler product suggestions here if you're open to them. One is to have a tax form built directly into CC if that's possible. So just want to flag that. Number two, would be nice to have a metric to see how much volume we've generated on CC and have a leaderboard for it. I think that's a really great suggestion. I know is a leaderboard in points, but could also be nice to see in dollars. And lastly, it could be interesting to have a cards basket similar to an index where we can simply buy shares on CC to hedge exposure to cards without having to understand TCGs. So just wanted to flag. I don't know if you want to comment on any one of those specifically.
I mean, for the leaderboard one, I'll talk on, not your taxes or an ETF. We'll save that for another discussion.
You're not the tax guy?
I'm not the tax guy, but again, if you go to Discord, we've got a great community that's built these tools. I just found out yesterday I've spent $45,000 on Collector Crypt, at least on the volume that I've driven to the platform, right? Ask some other folks, it's 7 figures. I'm a casual as far as that volume's concerned. There is P&L tools in our Discord that you can look up very easily. But I want to touch on the leaderboard one because, I'm in full agreement with you. Points are kind of confusing right now. And ways to distinguish, why is this person in first and I'm in fifth? I think we use the gotcha machine kind of the same. So making points in the leaderboard a lot more clear is definitely one of my goals here as we ramp up marketing for normies. And I'd also love to just not have a wallet address displayed on our leaderboard as well. I'd like folks to be able to input a username when they log into our platform. So it's not, 32 digits on a leaderboard. It's Space Buddha. He's in 900th place because he only spent $45,000 on our platform.
It's like having your bank account number on your public gaming profile. Silly, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to add some humanity to the leaderboard in that aspect. So great recommendation.
So do us all the favor then. Explain the point system you guys have. Obviously, I'm reading this tweet here. It says points are on the way to all cards holders. 85 million points, strip points, roughly $42,000 of free packs were just distributed. That's a lot of free packs. Can you explain what points are, how they work in the ecosystem?
Yeah, and that all was just for a month of holding the cards token. By the way, $42,000 was distributed to the community for March. Which is significantly higher than a ton of other platforms and reward systems for token holdership. Points, when you boil it down, it's like a 1%. If you're using a credit card, it's a 1% cash back, if you will. So as you're trading on these machines, obviously you get more points if you participate in the $1,000 gacha machine. You get 20 times more points on a $1,000 gacha machine than you would on a $50 gacha machine. And as these points rack up, you start to accumulate free packs. So, the more you rip, the more you spend on the platform. Every once in a while, you'll see your point meter circle around and boom, you've got a free pack. If you hold the cards token as well, monthly, we are dropping, points as a thank you to our cards holders and an incentive to participate on our platform and our ecosystem. So there's 2 ways to rack up points currently: rip some packs and generate them that way, or be a cards token holder.
Vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours! There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not. The feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's great.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
GM, boom, boom. What's up, guys? Dom, the homie. What's up, brother? How you doing?
We're back, baby. Let's go.
Dude, that pre-show gets you so hyped. Is that just me? I'm ready,
back,
boys.
Bro. Jordan Belfort
Markets
said
are
it
good,
best, bro. I've been a rich man. I've been a poor man. I choose rich every time. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So, guys, look, news came in yesterday, and you see the title. Nothing ever happens. In fact, the boy Dom got a nice little video prep for us. I actually want to get to that first.
You saw this video?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
All right, let's rip it.
Dude, nothing ever happens. The nothing ever happens, Chud. I want to kill him. Every time I see, like, whenever anything happens, I think of his face. Whenever anything in the world starts to happen, I see his face in my mind's eye. And it's like, no. No, not again. Every time you're thinking he will be defeated, it's like, finally. Every time something happens, you're like, finally. You're gonna die. You know, this nothing ever happens, Chud. We'll fucking lose. And every time, he's undefeated. Every time. The arc of history is long, but it bends towards the nothing ever happens, Chud. You think maybe it'll happen just this once.
Nothing ever happens, baby.
Nothing ever happens. So in that vein, guys, we have some breaking news and some stuff to cover. But just one thing that I wanted to start out with, obviously you heard the news that came out yesterday evening. The Strait of Hormuz has been officially opened. We're seeing some conflicting headlines come out here this morning. Here's the official news here that came out yesterday. The Iranian foreign minister, he announces that, safe passage through the strait will be granted for 2 weeks. So we are getting some conflicting headlines, though, that are coming out. Basically, we're seeing just under an hour ago, we're seeing that. Let me zoom this in for you guys so you can actually see it. But the prime minister issues a statement saying violations of the ceasefire have been reported at a few places across the conflict zone, which undermine the spirit of peace process. I earnestly and sincerely urge all parties to exercise restraint and respect the ceasefire for 2 weeks as agreed upon, so that diplomacy can take a lead role towards peaceful settlement of the conflict. So we're kind of seeing, yesterday, the Strait of Hormuz was opened. We're now seeing there's been potentially some violations of that agreement. But what we're also seeing is that Bitcoin is actually being used, and crypto is actually being used as a payment for fees for ships to come through the strait. And here we're seeing just minutes ago, again another violation of the ceasefire agreement here. Because of the attacks on Lebanon. So a lot going on geopolitically. Headlines control everything. But Dom, I know you got some more news for us. Go ahead and break it down.
I mean, even on this news, like, why is Israel attacking Lebanon? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand. We finally figure things out now. Trump says, okay, well, Lebanon wasn't part of the agreement, but like, why are we attacking Lebanon? Or not we, but why is Israel attacking Lebanon? I don't even get that. Can someone explain to me? Am I missing something here? Like, Lebanon's chilling. They're just chilling.
Just random strikes. I mean, look, you can't control the headlines, and I think that's the headline risk is very, very real. But at the end of the day, we told you guys in the same vein as the video that we just played. I said just a couple weeks ago, nobody can afford war. And countries, as they have to posture to look powerful and to not look like they're too submissive and what have you. But at the end of the day, no one can afford to go to war. The world is in a mountain of debt, and everyone will prioritize self-preservation. But also, of course, they got to look good while they do it, right? So no one wants to look weak.
Dude, I'm trying to figure out the point of this whole thing. Like, we went to war. We were originally targeting the enriched uranium. Missed a target on that, right? Assuming we did not hit that because we're still in there. We weren't doing this for a regime change, according to the administration. So, like, what's the point? We're going to get a regime that is probably worse than the prior regime. The enriched uranium is not hit, and the entire economy has been kind of messed up. So I just don't understand the point of this. But of course, I don't think we're meant to understand it. I think it's the powers that be doing the powers that be things, I guess. But yeah, we'll also add that. So like there's some confusion. We got the strait opening up, and then we got bombs, of course, bombs hitting Israel. We got bombs hitting Lebanon. So it's ceasefire has already been violated. I'm not sure what this means. Hopefully we get back on track and pause the ceasefire. It seems like the markets believe generally that's what's going to happen, because we haven't seen much of a reaction to the downside off of some of this stuff. Here's what Donald Trump had to say. He said, it's a big day for world peace. And bro, Donald Trump's tweets have been wild recently. Just absolutely wild.
Crashing out live
dude.
on the timeline.
But here's this one. A big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Now, also, Centrini analyst number 3, who went to the Strait of Hormuz last week or something and got the ground reports, bro. That is peak journalism. Peak journalism. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but like he wrote down how the Iranians are feeling. He wrote down what the Strait of Hormuz is looking like, and he's basically detailed theorized exactly what's happening right now, which is like it's incredible. So shout out analysis 3 from Centrini. But here's what Trump continues to say. Likewise, so is everyone else. The United States of America will be helping with traffic buildup in the Strait of Hormuz. There will be lots of positive action. Big money will be made. Iran can start the reconstruction process. We'll be loading up with supplies of all kind and just hanging around in order to make sure that everything goes well. I feel confident that this is just like we are experiencing in the U.S. This could be the golden age of the Middle East. President Donald J. Trump.
Dude, from yesterday, about to obliterate an entire civilization to this, but yeah, continue on.
No, yeah, here's just some further reporting from the Kobisi letter. And this came out, of course, as we got the ceasefire. This was like kind of detailing all the details. And so I'll read through that. Of course, since then, we violated the ceasefire. So I'm not sure how much of this is applicable right now, but I'll read it just for sake of the game here. Breaking, we have received the full details of the U.S.-Iran 2-week ceasefire announcement. Here are what the details include. The 2-week pause is subject to Iran's agreeing on the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I think the caveat here is they are charging $2 million in Bitcoin, which is ironic because they're going to quickly find out Bitcoin sucks for payments. So we're going to be doing Solana pretty soon. I think I even saw in a release from Iran, they mentioned we're using Bitcoin because no one can stop it and it's untraceable. And it's like, hate to tell you boys, but we absolutely can trace where that's going. So, but nonetheless, they are using Bitcoin. Trump describes this as a double-sided ceasefire brokered by Pakistan. Trump says that the U.S. has already met and exceeded all military objectives. Trump says the U.S. and Iran are far along with definitive agreements for long-term peace. Trump says Iran's 10-point proposal is a workable basis, and this 2-week period will allow an agreement to be finalized. We now wait on comments from Iran. Iran obviously corroborated this story. So, here, yeah.
Real quick, I actually wanted to run through the implications that this has had for the crypto markets. The Kobisi letter. He also kind of outlines how the crypto markets are recovering. Bitcoin is pumping today. Crypto funds recorded over 200 million of inflows last week, posting the 4th weekly intake over the last 5. So a couple weeks of straight money flowing into the crypto markets. We also see that XRP is leading that. Bitcoin and Solana also are leading that as well. And I don't know if you saw this, but there was also a new Bitcoin ETF that Morgan Stanley was about to drop as well. This came out last week, but I feel like this went completely under the radar. Will Clemente, he's the one that posted this. He says there's been so much doom on the timeline that I didn't even notice Morgan Stanley's gearing up to launch its own Bitcoin ETF at 10 bips lower fees than BlackRock's offering. Their distribution is huge. Best news in a while for Bitcoin. So, I mean, this is actually kind of crazy because if you look at the client assets that are held, Morgan Stanley, well over 7 trillion in terms of client assets held. So again, massive distribution here for Bitcoin. And we are coming up on 12:30. We're coming up on our next segment, on our first segment of the day. So real quick, guys, here's how the day is going to work. We just did some breaking news. We just did, just kind of major stuff that's been happening over the last 24 hours in markets. We'll take a look at the Bitcoin chart just very briefly, just pop it up so that way we know what price is doing right now. But overall, we'll do an interview at 12:30 right now. We have another interview with Taylor. So the first will be with Sunrise DeFi. The second will be with Taylor from Solana Foundation. And then afterward, we're going to get into the regular show flow. So we'll do Bitcoin majors, full analysis, full breakdowns, and then we'll transition to some on-chain stuff. There's some exciting things happening on the blockchain, guys, for the first time in what feels like years, like something truly exciting is happening. And while we get, I see that our first guest has just joined us here. So while we get him prepped, here's the Bitcoin chart. Here's the Bitcoin chart real quick. Again, just context. We covered all the news happening, and this is basically what's happening now. Bitcoin breaking the top of the range and trying to stay above, but we'll see if that's the case in the coming days. But let's go ahead and start with our first interview, Dom.
So real quick, just before that, I will say what's up to the chat. Greetings, Kings, Ave, Netanyahu, if you can hear me. North Korea crypto hackers already have a nuclear bomb. Okay. And then King said, Karma working on something big. We'll check that out after our two segments here, our two interviews here. But before we get into that, I'll lighten the mood up because this has got to be, I think I found the Q1 tweet of the quarter, man. This was hilarious. I'm sure you saw it too. Trump, every time the S&P drops more than 1%. It's this video of Michael Jackson. So good.
Oh my goodness.
So good. So accurate too, bro. But all right, just wanted to lighten the mood, guys. We got Sunrise coming up. This is gonna be an exciting conversation. Really interesting what they're doing. And like I'm trying to get behind the mind of the Sunrise team here because it's interesting. There are layer ones and layer twos choosing to offer their token natively on Solana, and it's probably receiving more trading volume than it is on their own native blockchain. So it's just it's pretty crazy stuff, and I'm trying to just understand the thinking behind this and how they're able to do it. So I will pull my boy up here. Is it Rashid? Is that am I getting that?
Yeah. Have you played the game Ratchet and Clank?
Yes, yes, I have. That's an OG game, Ratchet.
Yes.
Awesome.
So,
well, hey, good to meet
like
you.
Ratchet, like a ratchet strap, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Exciting stuff though. First and foremost, we're backed by Meteora, so we see Sunrise often. We know you guys do good work with them, and dude, it's just crazy. I'm seeing some of the stuff you guys are doing, listing Sui, and of course, the way you're doing it is interesting because it's not like you're just wrapping these tokens. It seems you're actually kind of seeding liquidity with these tokens and bringing them natively on Solana, which I want to get the full understanding of this, but it's super, super cool. So maybe we'll start with yourself, I guess, how you came in contact with the Sunrise team and just a bit of background on who we're talking to here.
For sure, man. So I've been in the crypto space for about 4 or 5 years now. Sunrise is built by the Wormholes Labs team. Before this, I was working with the Wormhole Foundation, so I was part of the Wormhole ecosystem already.
Nice.
Foundation and Labs used to coordinate a lot on these launches as well. I felt really drawn to the Sunrise mission. I think if you look at the timeline and you look at how Vibhu or Ramsey or Tolly or Raj, like all these key Solana figures talk about Solana and how it's progressing and how Solana is going to be the place where everything happens. Sunrise, I think, is like one of the biggest elements of that, where you enable spot trading for all assets on Solana. So while I was at the Wormhole Foundation, I was extremely drawn to this mission. I'd spoken to the Wormhole Labs team about bringing me over and sort of doing this. That's sort of how I got aligned with the mission. I've done a lot of Sunrise content myself as well. While I was at the foundation, I've been doing podcasts with Saeed for a very, very long time. When we did the first Mon launch, this was like back in November, not to anyone's surprise, but it was surprising across the Solana ecosystem. It topped like the top 5 venues where Mon could have been traded. So imagine Mon, like such a big asset listing, like it's available on every centralized exchange. And then you go look at CoinGecko, Solana is actually the 5th venue in terms of trading volume for Mon for that particular week. The thesis on Sunrise sort of expanded for me as I went through all these listings with the team for more of an external point. But now, just being in-house, working on Sunrise day and night, like I can tell you, like Solana is where it happens, boys. And this is sort of where the thesis progresses. And the goal is to have every asset that's traded elsewhere come to Solana. That's sort of what the mission statement is and how I got involved.
I think we're absolutely in agreement with you, but I want to hear it directly from you. Like, why are people choosing to trade native tokens, L1 tokens, L2 tokens on Solana, on Sunrise, rather than centralized exchanges or the native blockchain themselves?
I think there's a lot to be said about Solana and the user base that Solana has. You know, if you think about sort of Solana traders and you think about what it personifies someone who is in the trenches, who is always looking for opportunities. A Solana trader also very keen on missing out opportunities on other blockchains because of their hesitance to bridge out or to their hesitance to use a centralized exchange experience. Sort of comparing it to centralized exchanges, you know, if you look back at a lot of our previous listings, the spreads on the Sui launch, for example, the one that we have pulled up, like it was 120 bips on Coinbase versus Solana, it was like a fraction of that. So comparing it to a centralized exchange is a lot easier. When you compare it to, you know, having Sui exposure on Sui versus having Sui exposure on Solana traders just want to do stuff on Solana. So the idea here is, you know, when you list with a bigger centralized exchange, let's think of like a tier 1 centralized exchange like Binance or Coinbase, you get access to like a geographical set of new eyeballs onto your tokens. With Sunrise, you get sort of the same impact, not from a geographical lens, but from more of a ecosystem lens, where these are people who are native to Solana now might look at the Sui token or the Mon token or the AVAX token as like, okay, this is so easily accessible to me in Solana ecosystem, and I can do all these different DeFi interactions with them. That's sort of the thought process behind, you know, we're trading something on Solana versus a centralized exchange, and then on Sui natively or Monad natively in that example.
That's really interesting, but it also seems like you guys are doing something a little different here. I have this tweet pulled up, or I can pull this tweet up, where it talks about a little bit of your process here. So he mentions like before Sunrise, Sui on Solana was like a wrapped version of Sui. What are you guys doing differently? Are you like creating a liquidity pool, like taking these assets off chain, and like how is this working to where it's not a wrapped Sui? This is actually Sui that you're trading on Solana.
Yeah. So every launch is different. If I were to give you sort of a basic framework of what an ideal launch looks like, so since Sunrise is built by Wormhole Labs also the team behind building NTT or native token transfer. I want you to think of native token transfer as the ability of, you know, issuing native tokens on the destination chain versus the source chain. So NTT is sort of the technology that enables that. Other versions of NTT or competitors to NTT are obviously, you know, Hyperlane has one. There's Layer Zero's OFT. There's CCIP from the Chainlink team as well. At Sunrise, you know, we don't have a preference to issue NTT assets. I think NTT is one part of the stack. What we want to enable towards is having all these tokens come to Solana and making them as tradable as possible. And when we talk about the efficiency of these tokens, we want to usually focus more on the liquidity side rather than, you know, sort of debate on what framework is better or what framework is the best to sort of bring these over. We typically let the asset issuer. In the Sui case, it was permissionless, so we were happy to push this forward with an NTT launch. In the case of Dime, for example, the Paradex team, they had chosen to do a Hyperlane deployment, so we've done it through Hyperlane. There are different parts of the stack that we focus on. So to just sort of break it down for your audience, the first part is choosing what framework is used to bring the token over to Solana. And then the second part is gathering the liquidity to make sure that it is efficiently traded on Solana. And then, you know, obviously Meteora comes in where we deploy the DLMM pool, and then other trading venues are pulling off the Meteora pool, essentially.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Kind of a little bit of a different question. We're talking about Solana, and I think we totally align with just where the ball's headed, where traders want to be, where volume wants to be. You mentioned you know Monad trading on Solana, out trading centralized exchanges, and you know even other its own layer one. So this is really fascinating. We're seeing the growth in RWAs. Are you guys mostly focused on layer 1 tokens, layer 2 tokens coming over and trading natively on Solana? Or are you guys also like, hey, let's get some NASDAQ listed companies, let's get some equities? Like, how are you guys thinking about that?
So it's funny you say that, because when we think about tokens coming to Solana, the vision is everything on Solana. Like, the vision that Raj and Tully and everyone on Solana talks about is not just these crypto native assets, but these non-crypto native assets, or these RWAs coming on board, right? Like, I've been seeing a lot of posts from Nick talking about how there's $2 billion worth of RWAs on Solana right now. And, the Ondo team also, the securitized team also issued a new RWA or a stock on Solana today as well. As we sort of progress in this journey of new tokens and new opportunities coming on Solana, like, Sunrise will be there. It is a part of our focus moving forward. Like, I would say it's more of a Q2, Q3 type focus. Right now, we're hyper focused on, Gecko. Let's look at the top traded assets on CoinGecko based on trading volume, either 30-day or 365-day, and let's get all those opportunities onto Solana via the mechanisms we have. But RWA is definitely not something that we're not looking at. Like, it will happen and it will come through via Solana on Sunrise.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I guess that kind of steers me into the direction of who else is doing this. Because like we said, I've seen the wrap stuff, but I haven't really seen, I guess, this direct approach that Sunrise is taking. Do you guys have any competitors, or is this kind of like blue ocean and you're just like the only fish in the sea?
So historically, like, the way that I like to think about it is, we've had this change in interoperability from the wrapped version to what is the native version. If you think back to like the DeFi summer days, there are, like, for example, with Sui, as you said, there's a wrapped version of Sui that existed on Solana already. If you think about, let's say, the Uniswap token, like, there's a wrapped version of Uni on Solana that's been issued by Wormhole already. These wrap tokens come with their own baggage, they come with their own problems, and as interoperability has progressed, I think the entire space has realized that natively minted assets are preferred. So if we think about competitors, like, if you look at the old philosophy of the wrap token, a lot of the wrap token issuers had to follow this framework where if they wanted a token live on a new chain, these are some of the steps that they would have to go through. If you think about fundamentally competitors, like a new asset that wants to trade on Solana, they have to go through the same steps that we're doing for them to actually enable their token to be traded on Solana. Like, let's say some new token that's doing a TGE wants to list on Solana day one, they would essentially have to do the same steps that we have to do as well, right? So think of this more as a service. Like, think of this as you want to list on tier 1 centralized exchange, where that tier 1 centralized exchange, there are competitors. Like, hey, you can go to different venues, you can go to different centralized exchanges. I would put this right up there where you get access to all Solana traders in one place, but you get a step further where you also get access to all this DeFi integrations and all this sort of DeFi ecosystem that exists beyond what a centralized exchange can provide. So in terms of competitors, like, is there anyone doing exactly what we're doing, enabling tokens to be traded on Solana day one via the mechanisms that we are using? No. In theory, yes, with the wrap token stuff, with the centralized exchange stuff. So it's a bit of both, but on Solana, no, not on Solana.
Okay, so this is really interesting. I guess I want to get your idea here. Like, where do you think centralized exchanges go from this point? Because it seems like a lot of them have realized they need to pivot to DEXs or having wallet offerings, and they're starting to kind of come on chain. Like, we're absolutely seeing it. Like, we kind of understand the puck's headed in Solana's direction in terms of like most trading volume and trading activity. But like, what do you think we start seeing happening from these centralized exchanges in order to kind of adapt here?
I think what will happen is we will see a lot of, and we're already seeing this with a lot of these centralized exchanges or these market makers make plays on Solana, right? Like, we have Bybit doing Buy Real, the Orgonia stuff, the PMM stuff that Cumberland is doing is really interesting. I think it's a mistake for a centralized exchange to not have an on-chain play, and a lot of these centralized exchanges like Coinbase has Base, Binance with all the stuff that they're doing. One thing that we will see happening a lot more is we will hopefully see these centralized exchanges understand the value of what Solana brings to the on-chain world, and we will see these centralized exchanges now hire head of the Li-Fi guys did this recently. They have a head of Solana internally. Wormhole Labs with Sunrise completely dedicated on bringing an experience to Solana. Bybit did this with Byreal. We've just seen so many instances of this. I think if you're a C-suite, or you're someone who has influence over a centralized exchange right now, if you're not considering a Solana strategy, you're probably making a big mistake, because this is where all the action is. This is where all the traders are. This is sort of where we're headed this cycle. We always talk about peaks and valleys, and I would say we're in sort of this valley phase where things aren't as exciting. This is sort of the bear where everyone wants to build. If you're part of a centralized exchange team and you're not thinking of Solana strategy, I think that's a big mistake.
Interesting. So I guess a question that I had was, in times past, we've seen just going along with the centralized exchange conversation. We've seen, BNB, they created an entire L1. Coinbase created an entire L2. What's the strategy for coming on chain? Would it be kind of using a platform like Sunrise to provide on-chain access to different assets on Solana, and like using that as kind of the under the hood tech, or what's the next thing for these centralized exchanges?
I think, and that's a great question, and that is the $1 million question for a lot of these centralized exchanges. To be very honest, I think a lot of these centralized exchanges have their own different plays. From my understanding of the landscape, we mentioned Ergonia, which is a PMM, which is very different from what a buy real strategy is for Bybit, or which is very different from what OKX's strategy is with OKXX. Every centralized exchange is trying to play a different game, and rightly so. I think the days of a centralized exchange only trying to play the L1, L2 game is over. What we will see in the future is these centralized exchanges trying to play the game at the app level. So you see a lot more centralized exchanges launching spot dexes. We're already seeing the PMM stuff. We might see some of these launch perp dexes and trying to compete with Hyperliquid. A lot of chatter around the Solana ecosystem around we don't have a clear winner in the perp space right now. It's hard to say in terms of what the right strategy is for a centralized exchange, but from what I'm hearing and what other people have sort of my conversations I've had with a lot of these centralized exchanges, the days of a centralized exchange saying, okay, let's just launch an L1, L2 and hope the trade works is over. And what they're now thinking about is sort of the app layer and where they want to fit in there. And there's a lot of case studies there for them to experiment with, but that's sort of where we will see these sort of exchanges come on chain. The other angle is the RWA stuff. So Kraken's been doing a lot of this stuff with X-Stocks. Is you can start offering RWAs within your centralized exchange. So the verticalization exists. Where these centralized exchanges want to play is sort of an internal strategy thing, but we will see them come on chain with new different opportunities. It will not just be like, hey, let's launch an L1 or an L2. It will be at the app layer.
So if that's the next step for these centralized exchanges, how is Sunrise kind of positioned ahead of all of this? Where do you guys see yourself gaining the most traction? Is it just mainly the on-chain companies, or is it kind of incorporating this future of sexes coming on chain?
For sure. So we already work with a lot of these dexes that are on Solana. I would say we work with all of them. We work with Jupiter, Titan. We already deploy our pools on Meteora. We work with the OKX Dex guys. The way that Sunrise fits in here is, let's say an asset wants to come to Solana, they can make sure that their token is verified in all these trading angles. They can make sure that the liquidity pools are set up in a way that trades of any size are efficiently made. They can make sure that we are handling DeFi integrations after the fact that the DEX liquidity is put in together. From what I understand, the question is how are we positioned from centralized exchanges coming on chain? I would say that's sort of not a question that we talk about internally a lot. Let's say a new centralized exchange launches an L1 or an L2 that's not directly related, unless they want to bring their token to Solana, in which case, we would basically be their venue for listing on Solana. Let's say a centralized exchange wants to launch a perp DEX on any other chain apart from Solana. I would say that's not directly relevant to Sunrise either. In a case where a centralized exchange launches a spot DEX or a lending protocol or a perp DEX on Solana, where if an asset comes to Solana, we can make it day one available on their exchange. That is sort of the philosophy with which we would interact with that team. And that's when it would be relevant. Like, we are trying to talk to the BuyReal team a lot. We do talk to the Argonia team a lot. Those are the type of synergies that we're trying to create within the Solana ecosystem.
Super cool stuff. We see right here record amounts of ZEX supply traded on Solana. ZEX been performing very well, I think, compared to most of the market here. You talked about kind of the peaks and troughs we're seeing, and we're in more of this bear market. I looked on Blockworks. I couldn't find anything on Sunrise. Do you guys have any like trackable metrics or metrics you could share with us just on terms of like adoption you're seeing with this?
Yeah. So if you go to tokens.xyz, this is maintained by the Solana team themselves. You can see a lot of these metrics there. We are coming up with our own internal dashboards in terms of, stuff that we'd like everyone to talk about and track ourselves. But tokens.xyz is probably the best bet in terms of metrics that you can track today.
Okay. I'm going to try to pull that up. Do you have anything off the top of your head you could share with us, or?
On top of my head, like, wait, let me pull up our internal dashboard and read something off to you guys. Like, Hyperliquid is probably the best asset that we've seen listed. Like, I was checking last week, like Hyperliquid's done like more than $500 million worth of volume in the past 30 days, which is insane.
Wow.
There are obviously like assets where we believe to have the same impact of an Hyperliquid, like Monad as well. Like I was telling Dinner at the start of the episode, where if you look at the first 7 days of Monad trading on chain and off chain, or like on centralized exchanges, Solana was the top 5 venue overall. So there's a lot of key insights to share. I do agree that the analytics can be better, and this is something that we're working on. But tokens.xyz is probably the first best bet going towards there. Another interesting case that we saw was with Backpack. So Backpack team, like Solana overall, like on the DEX's side, Backpack was the #1 traded venue, and then rest of Solana was the second most traded venue always in terms of that week. And then all the centralized exchanges came second, like third, fourth, fifth afterwards. So there's obviously like an impact of the Solana ecosystem where, if you get your token listed on Solana and you are accessible to the Solana ecosystem, the Solana ecosystem does show up and show interest, or at least evaluate the trade, I would say.
So two things that pop in my mind from this is, number one, I'm going to try to gauge your economics after this and just like how you guys are, like what your takes are, basis points, etc. But also, you mentioned $500 million in volume for Hyperliquid in the first month of listing or whatever it was. Are people able to provide liquidity through Meteora for these? How do you guys grow that liquidity pool, make it a very liquid tradable market? And are people able to, I guess, profit off of some of the volume?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I don't have all the details on that angle. I would say like that's more of a quant question. I can get back to you on the specifics. But if you go to Meteora right now, you are able to provide liquidity to that pool, as you are with any other Meteora pool. Just to sort of correct you on the metrics, in the past 30 days, like if we talk from right now, Hype's done about $470 million of volume on Solana. So that's one thing. In terms of sort of how we manage liquidity, I'm not a quant. I can't sort of attest to how our quant trading team does this. But from my understanding, our team monitors the pools in a way that if we see a spike in the pool or we see an irregularities in the pool, we are able to provide extra liquidity to that pool and make sure that trades are uniform in that aspect.
Okay, got you. And then could you walk me through a bit of the economics on the Sunrise business? Like, is there a fee you're charging people to list on Solana? Is this a basis point fee you're taking from each side of the trade? How is it you guys are, I guess, generating revenue? Curious.
For sure. And I think the best way to answer this question is it is case by case. There is no one size fits all for a lot of these situations. Like the metric, like I want to give you the parameters of how we evaluate these trades rather than giving you like one, like this is what we do for everything. So the way that we evaluate these opportunities internally is, let's say there are two cases, right? Like SUI is an already listed token. That token's already listed. We are able to sort of mimic the price action of that token a lot better. It also has a lot of perp venues existing so that we are able to hedge that scenario, versus a TGE where we probably are not able to mimic the price action on day one as efficiently. There might not be perp hedges available day one initially. So a lot of our calculations in terms of how we negotiate with these teams are based on both of these factors, on whether there are perp engines existing so that we can take an hedge, or whether it is on an existing token or not, right? Based on that, we are able to negotiate sort of a token loan agreement with the other team, or we're able to source liquidity ourselves if we believe there's going to be high token trading volume. A listing fee is something that we have started talking about with some of these teams. Something that, it's not set in stone. I wouldn't say like I can't tell you like it's a 50K listing fee. I think it depends on a lot of these different variables, and then it sort of comes back to like, hey, how do we sort of make this trade flat in terms of making this accessible on Solana day one? I would say our team focuses a lot more on ensuring the depth of these liquidity pools rather than trying to turn a profit on the hedges or on the token loan agreements. There is a lot more to come in terms of how we monetize this and how we sort of verticalize this and sort of scale this forward, which, I don't want to say a lot right now. Like, it will come in the future. Like, we are thinking about how to monetize this in a more aggressive manner where, we sort of see a lot more light of the tunnel rather than what we are right now. But I would say our number one focus right now is to gain mindshare within the Solana ecosystem, gain the trust of Solana traders. Like, hey, if this asset is traded or launched by the Sunrise team, the depth is there. We will not get wrecked on these trading experience. And then, like, as a lot of what we've seen with Wormhole existingly, the revenue will come, but that's like our main focus. And then in terms of sort of how the deals are structured, I already shared, a lot of the parameters that are quant evaluated in general.
Yeah, you mentioned gaining the trust. I think you're doing a really great job at this. And you said, maybe we have a listing fee in the future. I think like this is an incredibly powerful pitch. There's $585.3 million of traded volume. I think this is in the last 24 hours for SUI, for example, your most recent listing, 20.5 million of open interest on Solana. It's not tough to sell that to someone saying, hey, you can come and list on Solana where all the trading volume is going to be. And by the way, like, here's some recent case studies where we had SUI, we had Hyperliquid, we had, all these different assets do these kind of numbers on chain. Like, this is what people clearly want. Just like these numbers are incredible. I mean, any takeaways you're getting from this?
The amount of requests we've gotten internally of like, hey, can we get a Sunrise listing immediately is insane. Like, the week I joined, we did 2 listings back to back, and we have just been flooded with requests all around. And I do want to give a quick shout out to the Solana Foundation. Like, Ramsey has been an immense backbone to our entire team in terms of, just giving us the awareness and sort of backbone of what the Solana ecosystem needs. I think he's really plugged into the Solana DeFi ecosystem with what other trading terminals want. These listings happen in like one or two ways, right? Like, you either have DeFi venues like Jupiter or Titan, or where these assets are actually traded, they actually want to push an asset, right? Or you see insane demand from like Solana traders being like, hey, we really, really want this asset come on Solana. Our team is really sort of tapped into both sides. The first side being through Ramsey and the Solana Foundation, and the second with, the immense Wormhole community that Wormhole Foundation had, like I personally had, and then all the social credit that Wormhole Labs has. We're able to sort of make a decision based on these factors. As I said, we're not too worried about the sort of revenue side right now. We're just trying to provide the most optimum trading experience. Like, we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline that will optimize the revenue experience for us in the future. Based on those factors, like, everything that we list right now, we just want to see insane numbers of. Like, we don't want to list a mid asset. We don't want to list like an asset that does $1 million a week. We want to list the next hype onto Sunrise. And I'm probably saying too much. Like, you can probably guess the next couple of assets we're looking at. If you monitor CoinGecko closely on daily trading volume, like it's pretty easy to guess which ones are on our timeline. I'm not going to confirm anything, but yeah, very, very excited for this month. Like, we are definitely going to see a lot of big name listings before Solana accelerate. Is all I'll say.
No, very cool. I mean, you can. I'm on the Sunrise platform here, and you can see some of the volumes. 24-hour volume, 22 million for hype alone. So that's pretty crazy. When you think about these volumes, do you know where a lot of the volume's coming from? Have you guys like analyzed that? Is this organic? Is some of this botted? Like, not saying it's you guys doing any of the botting, but that's the nature.
Yeah, I can. So this is a metric that I've been trying to get internally. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a stat that the average hold time of a meme coin on Solana is 58 seconds. I've been trying to get our data team to sort of give me a stat on what the average hold time of a Solana or a Sunrise listed asset is. I think the short of it is, if a trader is trading a blue chip like Hype or Mon or some of these bigger cap tokens, there's an intent to sort of hold it, or there's an intent to sort of trade it. There's an intent for a longer play, like unlike a meme coin where you can probably flip a profit in 58 seconds. That's probably not happening here. A lot of these tokens trade on centralized exchanges the same way. In terms of botnet activity or not, I cannot sort of talk about that. Like, I don't think that's definitely something that our team is doing.
Right.
I don't think there's any advantage of botting these token trades either. Like, during some listings, we've seen Jupiter have some trading competitions. I doubt botting those trading competitions benefits the traders because they track individual wallet trades anyway. But the way that I would think about it is, a centralized exchange listing happens. Like, if you get a Binance listing, you get access and visibility to so many different people. Similarly, when you list on Sunrise, you get access to this immense pool of traders who are looking for exposure to new assets. And once they get it on Solana, I think it sort of gives them a question mark of like, hey, is this a trade that I'm considering to do because I can do it on Solana now? Like, I don't need to bridge to Hyperliquid, or I don't need to bridge to Sui now. I can just do it on Solana.
It's absolutely what I would want as a trader. Like, I'm tired of going through these sexes. I'm tired of these interoperability problems. You being Wormhole, you are very familiar with just the interoperability issue we have from chain to chain and how just annoying this stuff can be. So absolutely, if my money can stay on Solana and I can trade Hype, Sui, Monad here, I'm going to. So like, it's really compelling. That being said, I want to respect your time. We got a few minutes left. 1:15 is Taylor from Solana Foundation, actually our next guest. I'm sure you guys have had conversations. But that being said, interested to get just like your roadmap. What are you guys most excited for? You said the next month is really exciting. You're looking to list some really exciting stuff. Like, maybe walk me through what you guys are ready for.
Yeah, I think they're like, and I'll talk a lot about what I'm excited for, right? Like, each of these new token listings is like bringing over a new organism in itself. Like, when we were launching AVAX versus when we were launching Sui, like, these are two different beasts that need to be sort of communicated in two different ways. There are two different communities. These are two different cabals. The people who hold stakes in these communities are different entirely. And they might have geographical differences, they might have a lot of differences, but when a lot of these assets come to Solana, like, they merge into this one big Solana ecosystem where they're trying to learn more about the Solana ecosystem. One thing that's going to come up next is, we've seen the spot side. We're trying to work more on the perp side and the borrow lending side as well. So imagine a Sui coming on to Solana, and then you would automatically have like borrow lending opportunities on Solana for Sui the asset. Or let's say a new TGE happens tomorrow, like, you're able to get perps on Solana for that asset day one. That's like one aspect of it. Like, we are working really heavily on the DeFi integration side, something that I'm really excited about, something that takes a little bit of time to curate properly, I would say. And with the Solana Foundation's new sort of vision of OPSEC and sort of security overall, like, this is going to take a little bit of time, and I want everyone to sort of bear with us as we sort of figure out this broader DeFi integration side. The second side is just like, boys, like, we're just going to go ham on all these listings, right? Like, if you see a token that's like going crazy right now, you can probably guess it's going to come on Solana pretty soon. So that's sort of where my time is
Well,
going.
we're
Where our
looking at a
team's
few of them.
you are looking at a few of them. Without naming names, we will see. I'm very, very excited for the next month.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very cool. Interesting to hear you guys are getting into more of the DeFi side here. The new Solana like security, thing that they're doing is really, really a cool initiative. So hopefully you guys can benefit more from that. That being said,
Yeah,
Chill,
that's one
any
thing.
last questions?
With the security stuff the Solana Foundation is doing, I think asymmetric research is one of the core contributors of the wormhole ecosystem. Like I've worked with these guys for 2 years. They are amazing at what they do. I'm very excited for them to be working with this broader Solana ecosystem on a lot of the security stuff that's going on. Last words, no, like just follow the Sunrise stuff. If you have any asset requests, like just ping me or ping Saeed or ping any of the team members. We are listening to all these requests. Like, hey, at the end of the day, we want to list assets that people want to trade. There's no point in us listing assets that people don't want to trade, right? Like, unlike a centralized exchange, we don't do social listening. We don't do all this sort of exchange marketing metric stuff. Like, we just want to hear from Solana traders on what they want to trade, and we will have that listed on Solana ASAP. That is the dream.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that you guys are so like receptive to like community feedback. Just kind of what does the market want? What do traders want? You guys are willing to build that out for them. I mean, you guys are doing amazing work, man. I'm glad that we were able to get you on today. It was a really good conversation. I mean, I know that we covered a lot. Anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share?
No, I think we covered everything. A couple of things that I got out of this conversation that we will improve on the communication side is we'll talk a little bit about why we list some of these assets. I think that's really important. Chill, you mentioned the analytics side. That's something that we'll get a lot better at as well. I think there's a lot of different stuff that traders want to look at, and we will sort of optimize that accordingly. And then the third thing is sort of just being more out there. Like I want to do more of these spaces. I want to interact with more Solana traders and get out there as much as possible and just spread the Sunrise name. And then the fourth thing is I think communicating what the quants do has pros and cons to it both. Understanding how to communicate it efficiently is something that we'll sort of work on, and we will communicate that more further through our comms as well.
Awesome. Man, love it. Goated team. Really appreciate you coming on the stream today, Ratchet. But yeah, as you guys build out into the future and you continue to pursue the roadmap, let us know. We'd be happy to have you guys back on. You guys are amazing.
Very cool stuff. And Ratchet, I gotta ask, Miami consensus accelerate in 30 days. Is the squad gonna be down there?
The squad is going to be there. We're still working on what type of activations we're going to do, but you will definitely see Saeed, you'll see Simon, you see a lot of our team members there. So and we're definitely going to have some cool merch. So I'm going to hook you guys up.
Let's go. All right. Well, we'll make sure to link up, maybe get a quick in-person interview with you or something. But we're bringing out a full squad, film crew and stuff. So it's going to be fun. And we'll keep in contact on that.
All right.
Ratchet.
Yes.
Awesome conversation. Exciting stuff. Peace.
Yes. Bye.
Appreciate you, Ratchet. Take care.
Dude.
Awesome convo, bro. Yo, Solana, Miami looks like it's gonna be nice.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be nice.
Bro, but Sunrise thoughts. I had a few takeaways. I think he slipped it in there. He mentioned the DeFi part a bit, and I think most people are missing that. I'm not sure if they really advertise that a lot, but so I'll give you kind of, I think, what I'm picking up as the vision here. They list hype instead of going to Camino, instead of going to Drift or RIP or some of these other DeFi platforms. You can just get this listing, trade it on Sunrise. It's listed on Sunrise. And by the way, you can start looping, you can start lending, you can start borrowing all through the Sunrise platform. So it's kind of an all-in-one super app, if you will, with these listings and with the DeFi mechanisms attached to it too, which I think is really great too, in tandem with Solana's new initiative to do this 24/7 monitoring, surveilling, run these audits. And of course, like the wormhole ties are great as well. Pretty bullish on this. The volume we're seeing come through these. I mean, look at this 24-hour volume on Hype is 22.3 million, 2.3 million on Monad, 500K on Backpack, 330K on Sui. And then so far down, it goes down. But like those are really good volumes, and assuming those continue to pick up as traders come back, as Solana kind of continues to be the place for RWA and the place for trading and the place for listing, and sexes kind of fall behind in that regard. I don't know. I think Sunrise is really promising, honestly. Pretty maybe a little sleeper pick here, but I think it
Might
takes a lot
be.
of mind share and volume.
Might be. I mean, the powerful thing is that that the traders are here. I mean, you see it, the millions in 24-hour volume. It shows that traders actually want stuff like this, and it's a natural next step, right? Everything is coming on chain, and that's why I wanted to ask a little bit about what their thoughts are with some of these centralized exchanges coming on chain, and what they feel like that would look like. If it truly is the app layer, then we're now just interacting directly with the blockchain, and they can be the under the hood technology to kind of power these sort of apps. So I'm really bullish on that, man. I mean, if you guys remember, previous cycles, if anyone was here in 2021 or 2017, the main place to trade was Ethereum. Every token that launched Ethereum, it was Ethereum native. And I see now with Sunrise, we could potentially be looking at something much different than just Ethereum native trading, right? Like now more assets will want to be, tradable on Solana versus mainnet. So definitely something to keep an eye on, and excited to see what they're building, man. I think this is good. This is all good stuff.
Super cool. Was I lagging in the interview? I think Ratchet was lagging a little bit.
Ratchet was, but you weren't. I think we were
Okay.
fine on our side. Real quick here,
Okay, so because I
GM
pulled
top
up
phone.
Blockworks and
Yeah.
all this stuff, and I didn't know if like my computer was gonna blow up or what. But
Not
good to
gonna
know.
lie, you pull up some of these news outlet sites, and like they just have so much stuff running in the background, bro.
It's the live feeds too. Like if you're pulling up a DEX or a charting platform that's constantly like refreshing,
Yeah.
it kills your stuff. But whatever.
But anywho, let's see here. So next up, guys, we got Taylor coming from Solana Foundation. He'll be on here in the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, I'd like to, depending on what you want to do, Dom, I can do a quick update on the DLM trade that I got going on.
Yeah, we got Taylor in the waiting room. We got a couple minutes here, so maybe do the DLM trade that you recently took, and we'll pop in with Taylor, just see where his head's at, what he's looking at, all the exciting stuff coming through the Solana pipeline. Maybe a word on Sunrise, because that was a really cool conversation.
Yeah, I'd love that. While we prep Taylor, just give him a second. We'll just kind of update you guys a little bit on the DLM trade. So the other day I told you guys I set this range here. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When you kind of have it down what Meteora is doing on Solana with DLMMing, it's really powerful, really powerful. Obviously this is just a very small like kind of test portfolio. Just threw a couple soul in there just to see how things are going. But this trade up 50% on this trade, and literally it's literally just still in this pretty quiet range here. I mean I don't know how I ticked this range so well, but I did, and it's working out. And I'm looking to see if this token can fully reverse to the top side of the range. And I really want to push the DLMMing technology to the limit. Like I want to see how much can I really do with this. Because I mean, I feel like that's what we do on Solana, right? We break things, we test things, we push to the limit and see how much we can experiment. Looking good, Chill. Hey, appreciate you, Crypto Jones. Appreciate you. We've been DLMMing for a couple weeks together, me and you, on these streams. So I'm glad that we've been seeing some gains here. Good stuff for the portfolio.
Crypto Jones,
yeah.
I owe you a token to look at later today. I forgot to do it yesterday, and I've been meaning to do it. I saw a tweet about it. So after this, I got you, bro. I got you.
Why not claim fees though? I'll probably claim here in a sec. I'll probably claim. I just like to let it cook, I just like to let it build up. But it's 1:15, guys. We have Taylor Fox in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and bring him up. Taylor Fox from Solana Foundation. Great conversation ahead. So looking forward to just spitballing, just chopping it up and catching up on what he's been doing lately and how he's thinking about the future of Solana. Taylor, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Glad to be here. Good to see you boys again.
Let's go, dude. Welcome back. A lot's changed since the last time we talked.
Oh, I think my audio might have cut out there. Just give me 1 second.
all good. All good. Boys, Flo, we'll get to you on Kita, and all the questions in the chat we'll get to after this interview. Let Taylor get the audio right.
Yeah, Crypto Jones, I like to put the base tokens back into the pool, really. So you kind of like re-loop it. Interesting. Look, Crypto Jones, I still I'm not trying to be, I am trying to test, like push it to the limit as far as like my tests and stuff, but I don't want to like push it too much to where I have no idea what I'm doing. I think right now I'm like focusing on the just getting the ranges right and then getting the strategy right. So you have the ranges like spot, bid ask, or you have the strategy spot, bid ask, etc. I just want to make sure I'm choosing those right, choosing the ranges right, and then we can go from there. But I think we have Taylor back. Let's see if we're good.
Testing. Taylor, you with
All
us?
right, we're good. We're back in business.
Let's go, baby. Glad to have you back, man. Been a while since we talked. Last time we chatted with you, you were talking to a bunch of teams at Believe. You had some good stuff through the pipeline there. Now you're with Solana Foundation. Clearly they saw some value in you, I think, from that experience. How did that happen, transpire there?
100%. Vibu's DM to hire pipeline is absolutely unmatched. He has more aura sliding into DMs than a lot of professional sports athletes in terms of efficiency rates, I'm sure. But no, I got introduced to the team obviously from a little bit of my time just working at Believe, people at the Solana Foundation. But yeah, started with the DM from Vibu and then met everyone else, and it really just felt like such a natural extension of a lot of the work that I was doing at Believe in terms of trying to bring more developers, founders, creators, like everyone on chain. But obviously with much more resources than we had at Believe. So it was just an extension of doing the work that I love, which was mostly trying to just champion founders and playing a very small part in their journey. So very grateful to be surrounded by people who keep pushing the envelope.
It seems like a pretty fun position. It's like our boots on the ground of what's going on in the ecosystem. You probably get to talk to a lot of super sweet teams.
100%. Yeah, I think that's the best part about it. That was a lot of what I enjoyed working at Believe, but it's just like it's the same experience on steroids, really. I think I've met so many amazing founders and teams who are building really, really innovative products, especially in a time where building, I think, is a little bit more valued in this kind of market. But yeah, I mean, just to put it in like really clear terms, the caliber of founders and teams that I've met with in the month or so that I've been working at the foundation, it's just so hard for me to not be bullish on consumer crypto. Like it's really, really hard for me to not be super bullish on it.
So your new role is consumer at Solana. Is this like consumer SaaS, consumer, like what does this kind of entail? Explain that to us.
Yeah, consumer is kind of like a broad overarching term. And, I think it's a good question in terms of what does that actually mean, right? Because so much of crypto is like, it's tech for finance, right? So consumer is like how would you want to define that? Do you boil it down to like, retail usage? Do you boil it down to like retention over time? Like what really is a consumer app? I think the way that, we think about it is, I like to think about it in sort of a more traditional sense. What are sort of these apps that, make it easy for people to live their lives, as they normally do, but just in a much more efficient and better way. And that can mean a lot of different things, right? It can mean, finance becoming a little bit more accessible and easier to use, taking advantage of all of the amazing benefits that like DeFi yield has to offer without really having to think about it, right? It can mean, getting more access to particular creators or being literally invested in their success. So I think it's a really broad overarching term. And I like to sort of fall back on the traditional definition of it, but it really means that I get to have the most fun, I think is how I like to view it.
Yeah, dude, sign me up. Were you a crypto bro before Believe, or I saw you were previously Apple, then what is it, Believe, now Solana? Were you a crypto bro before this, or was it just like startups, tech?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about this a ton, but I actually started my journey in startups and crypto after I left Apple. So I originally worked on the consumer products team at Apple. So I worked on news, stocks, books, weather, and while I was there, just learned what it really means to value craft in a product. I think Apple is one of those companies where quality is at a really high bar, and so it was just amazing to be surrounded by people who were obsessed with that. But yeah, my journey into crypto actually, I decided that I was done with sort of this, bigger, big tech scene, and actually left and was in the first class of Z Fellows. I don't know if you've seen them like pop up on the timeline or whatnot, but it's run by Corey. He's amazing. Z Fellows changed my life. It's basically a small week-long accelerator where the whole pitch is like, don't quit your job. Take $10,000 and you get introduced to all of these like amazing Silicon Valley founders and entrepreneurs, investors. So I did that, and I built sort of the I wanted a way to basically copy trade people in TradFi. This was like during the time when AMC and GameStop were absolutely popping off, and I thought it was crazy that people were basically looking to strangers on Reddit to trust with their like financial advice and money movements. And so I built a product that basically allowed you to copy trade anyone and see how much money someone made in a verifiable way, which is like it's sort of easy to see the segue into on-chain sort of trading there. But no, I started a company with my best friend from MIT. It was a copy trading app, and we actually ran up the original Nancy Pelosi portfolio tracker account.
You did not.
Yeah, we worked with a guy on Wall Street who was doing all of the copywriting for us, and we ran that up to 500,000 followers in like 3 months. And we used that as a surface to launch different features of the product. So our first product was the ability to copy trade Nancy Pelosi.
That's hilarious.
Who's one of the most goated investors of all time.
Hilarious. And, you're behind that account, man. My next question was gonna be, dude, so what's the Nancy Pelosi trade? Is that what you guys are doing? That's hilarious.
Yeah. So we did that. We did that for a bit, and we built it on. We actually reverse engineered Robinhood's API, and we had a ton of volume come through that. With 2 tweets, we had over 15,000 users. We had within the first 48 hours, we had over like 30 mil of volume, and again, this was all like through Robinhood's API, which way they weren't super happy about. So we actually ended up getting a cease and desist from them, and
that's how you knew you're doing something right when you get a cease and desist from Robinhood.
Right. And that was sort of the segue into building on chain. We were sort of at this crossroads where we had to decide if we wanted to go down a multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment of like building our own brokerage. There was no brokerage that we could use as a substitute at the time. Like Alpaca had just started. So there was no brokerage as a service offering. We were like, well, we think that copy trading has product market fit. Like we saw some good traction there. But we didn't want to go down the road of like building our own brokerage because I was in the consumer product game. I wasn't trying to stand up an entire brokerage. And so I ended up building a copy trading product called Squads that actually was sort of like FOMO, but for NFTs back in the day. But it was on ETH. Everything was really slow. It was super congested. So we didn't have as much confluence as we saw in sort of the TradFi copying app. But that was my foray into building on chain. So that's when I got into NFTs. That's when I got into being a sleuth and all that good stuff.
That's such an amazing story. The Nancy Pelosi tracker. That's hilarious. So I want to walk this back. You mentioned Z Fellows and like how valuable that community was for you. When you kind of look to take that experience to Solana and the community that Solana's built with the super teams, and they've done so much here, like how do you want to replicate that into some of the builders you're talking with and seeing on Solana?
100%. I think it's a really good question because for so many sort of like accelerators or incubators or, call them catalysts to help builders, I think that there's a lot of parallels that you can draw from in sort of like that VC backed world. So one of the things that we're doing is, I'm trying to work directly with Z Fellows to be able to give grants to founders that are obviously promising, who, go through that program, obviously have some degree of gold just from that filtering process as a standalone. But also, I think that like Solana really does a great job of trying to also find those amazing founders and bring them to the surface. Obviously, we have so many different hackathons and sort of our own grant initiatives that people across all of our teams are constantly looking for someone who's building something really cool. So yeah, I like to draw inspiration from those kinds of programs, see where crossover makes sense, and see where we can overlap in that surface area. And of course, like we're always trying to improve in terms of finding the best builders and ensuring that they have everything that they need from both a distribution and capital standpoint to be able to get to the next level and be able to test those ideas.
Yep. Earlier as well, you mentioned, this is tech for finance, and we're seeing this emerge. And I think like recently with the hyperliquid volumes going through the roof for oil, gold, and silver, and like I think traditional finance really discovering how valuable blockchain could be to just facilitate these 24/7 markets, illiquid markets, and like all the offerings. I mean, we have Stable coming on tomorrow, which is a protocol for like mortgages on chain, just all sorts of crazy things you can do. How do you think traditional finance is starting to see blockchain and the value that it brings?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think to me, it's becoming more and more apparent. I think it's becoming a little bit more obvious. I mean, you're certainly seeing this on the trading side, on the DeFi side, with like hyperliquid success, which is great. And I think that that's certainly a door for a lot of sort of the institutional attention in realizing what's possible when you bring a lot of these things on chain. And I mean, it's really great because aside from just like being able to trade equities or different commodities on chain, I think that to your point, being able to bring all of these real world assets, or even like on the more fun side, like these TCGs, like Pokemon on chain, like you're starting to see this massive swath of assets that you can really like harness the blockchain for to bring better liquidity, price discovery, access where people in the world might not have access to it. And so I think for me, when I zoom out and I sort of think about that, again, I think that the awareness is starting to become much larger. I think that it's starting to become more obvious, and we can sit back and sort of like debate ultimately where all of that will land. But I think that like obviously my bias, working at the Solana Foundation, it feels really clear to me, for a variety of reasons, both on a technical standpoint and also sort of a general market standpoint. But I think there's a lot to be excited about. Like I think that all of those different attributes that I mentioned previously, those were sort of like pipe dreams a while ago, and a lot of people had sort of this dream of like, oh, only if we could do this. And it's like it's here, like it's here. So yeah, it's really exciting time for sure.
I mean, going back to your experience with Believe, obviously that's more like startups on chain was the whole the narrative around that, and that's like you said, this is an extension of what you've done. I believe. At what point does it become, what's the 0 to 1 moment for startups on chain as you see it? You kind of have the inside look on what's going on behind the scenes. What's the 0 to 1 moment? When does everybody say, wow, I should launch a business on chain?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I kind of like to think about this with two sorts of lenses. So the first is, I think it's really clear that we are in a world, and we are increasingly progressing towards a world where taste is sort of a defining feature of one's success, right? With AI, like you were able to express your worldview in a software medium with extreme ease, right? Like any of us could go and build like an app that 5 years ago, if we would have described building that ourselves, like no one would have believed us, right? And so in that world where software is becoming increasingly easy to sort of like manufacture, and taste and creativity and your own perspective are becoming increasingly valuable, I think that like one of the ways that you might be able to define a 0 to 1 moment for a startup on chain could be in two facets. The first, I think, is an example that we saw often at Believe, where someone, essentially funds the development of their startup via tokenization, and using the trading fees or some other funding mechanism to fund the development of that idea and that progress. You could argue that's a 0 to 1 because at really no other point in human history have you been able to amass 5 or 6 figures worth of capital formed in days, or a week, days at times. Like that's pretty amazing as a mechanism of funding, right? And so I would argue that we've already seen that to some degree. We've already seen companies that were literally an idea in someone's head, be translated into code through AI and then spread and distributed throughout the world with capital form behind it and like real progress, right? Like I think, Orgo is a really clear example of this. I see that they're on the scrolling list up there, which I love to see.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Spencer is like a really good example of that, right? Like his 0 to 1 journey was very much dictated by that process of being able to form all of this capital. And then he went out and he was able to raise a round. He's been able to court enterprise clients to use his software that he's created, which is amazing. So I think that that's one case. I think that the second case is sort of a bigger question that a lot of people have been mulling over, and I don't know if we have a really clear answer. But what I mean by the second case is, I think that there's a very grand vision to like bring the entire process of capital formation on chain, like bring all of the fundraising process on chain. And we're starting to see a lot of cool companies that are doing amazing work in this category. Like on the Solana side specifically, I mean, there's like a lot of legal structure related companies, right? Like Soar, Street, Meteora just, announced Bedrock. Like I think that those are all like really, really amazing pieces of work that are sort of like bridging the gap between sort of the legal structures that we have in place for a lot of these systems and, making it easier for them to exist and live on chain. I think that, we haven't really nailed exactly what that looks like, in perpetuity, but I would say that by virtue of having that 0 to 1 piece through this like sort of concept of capital formation, like we saw with Believe and, Bags and others, I think that is a great catalyst for us to continue exploring this sort of second part. And again, like, we were talking about bringing real world assets on chain. Like, I really think it's only a matter of time until we have, basically like early and late stage sort of like startup exposure, private, business exposure on chain, just because it makes sense when you think about the distribution capabilities, the capital formation capabilities. So we haven't figured it out yet, but we're definitely getting there.
Chill, I know you got a follow-up question. I want to jump in here real quick. I mean, you think of something like a Kled, right? Going from 0 to raising at 200 plus $300 million valuation, literally 0 to 1 moment happened on chain. And they get something multiple 6 figures, called $500,000. These are checks that YC would sign for very early stage companies. What do you think when you look at stuff like this? It goes and raises 100,000, $500,000. Like, what do you think is entitled to those early supporters that kind of got it from that 0 to 1 stage? Should it be a 10% equity like YC gets for their deals, or a safe agreement? Should it be, I don't know, features and benefits? Like, is there an answer for that?
It's a really good question. I mean, I think the very, very simple answer is like, you need to have some form of value, right? That's why anyone is buying anything, right? Like they expect some kind of return. With what we've seen across, the sort of like 0 to 1 concepts with tokenization for capital formation and, sort of like the later stage, Street, Bedrock, Soar kind of models. I think it's tough to say what that actually looks like, whether it's, value accrual to the token itself, right? Like I think that, if you look at Hype as an example, right? Like they've done a really great job of having value accrual to the token, and they've done that through buybacks and they've aligned the ecosystem with it. But I think that people get a very simplistic and reductionist view of like, oh, well, like the way that we just accrue value to the token is strictly through buybacks. And I think that's a very, very small piece of a more intricate and complex puzzle. And so that's why I would say, like, I think at the end of the day, you can really distill it down to like, they should be getting some kind of value. Now, what that is, I think that's up to, the founders, the teams, in terms of how they want to compensate their early believers. I think that, on the more sort of like left curve meme side, I think that you could argue that the value was literally just like very easily transmissible memetics. It was a tension derivative, and that was valuable inherently in and of itself. And on the right curve, I think that there might be more complex sort of structures here, whether it's, buybacks and community alignment, or whether it's equity on chain. Like, I don't know what that ultimately looks like. I think that we're making really good progress towards what that can look like. But yeah, I think, in its simplest form, I think people expect a return. And I would say that, for a majority of the founders who have launched using these kind of like on-chain capital formation mechanisms, I think a lot of them have done so in good faith with the intent of, rewarding those who are early believers.
I guess in that vein, like, do we coexist with TradFi rails? Like, do we kind of just connect this capital formation via on-chain and just kind of connect that with the existing infrastructure in TradFi? Or is it like a Web3 native solution? Like we just create something new? There's been this discussion of, whether we're going backwards by trying to integrate with TradFi, or if crypto is meant to just create something completely new, a completely new primitive, new types of rails, new technology. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that two takes. When it comes to, what we were just talking about, like capital formation on chain, bringing equity fundraising on chain, I think that right now, I think we're definitely coexisting. And I think that we sort of have to until we have the right structures and bridges in place to be able to actually transfer over to a more efficient system. I think that there are, pros and cons with both systems right now, right? Like I think that to some extent, like equity capital formation has been around for a really long time on traditional rails, and it will continue to exist for a long time. And obviously, bringing capital formation on chain is relatively novel. But I think that there are a lot of advantages with on-chain that the whole world is sort of like waking up to. So I don't know. I think that there was this notion that was tossed around a lot that people became disillusioned by, which was like, we're so early. But I think that that's true to an extent. Like I think that you can still apply that to certain sections here and have that still be true. In terms of like zoomed out in totality, like are we going to exist, in tandem with traditional Web2 rails and like mirrored crypto rails, like not just for equity fundraising, but for like the entire financial system? That's a really good question. I think that my view is we'll probably continue to coexist for a while, but I think that we will start to see very clear benefits of moving a lot of these systems on chain, and the efficiencies will naturally emerge, and the market will just naturally go to where it is most rewarded. So that's kind of my optimistic view on that.
I mean, we're starting to see early signs of this, right? The NYSE, for example, buying 10% of OKX at a $25 billion valuation. We saw Kraken acquire X stocks, and that is obviously they partner with the NASDAQ as well to start getting like 24-hour trading and stuff. So like it's very clearly an exciting direction we're headed in, and yeah, I don't know. I just think there's a lot going on, a lot to be excited for. Maybe in terms, and chill, not to cut you off, bud, sorry. But maybe in terms of what you're seeing, are there a lot of people you're talking with that are kind of catering to a more traditional finance side rather than like your crypto bros and your on-chain guys?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that this has been really interesting because there's sort of like, there's a dynamic going on where like traditional world are obviously becoming more aware of the benefits of bringing things on chain and the different efficiencies that come with that, right? Like 24/7 trading, et cetera. You mentioned a lot of them just now. And at the same time, by virtue of these people becoming more aware of it, I think that people who work within crypto are able to approach different, sectors that previously might not have thought that there was a lot of overlap. I think a really good example of this is the overlap that we've seen with AI and crypto, right? Like I think that previously a lot of people who worked in AI, like, there's a lot of memes out there about like, don't waste your time with crypto. And I personally have, talked with some developers where, they don't see a real benefit to it, but just as like a very simple example in terms of some of a conversation that I've had that sort of turns into a light bulb moment for AI developers is, explaining to them, hey, your agent can have a wallet and it can be self-sustaining, fund a lot of its own work. Like that's a really clean light bulb moment for a lot of people. And that's just one example of an overlap between AI and crypto. And we have so many examples of that, across all sorts of different sectors. So I would say there's two things going on. People who are outside of crypto are becoming more aware of the benefits. And as a result, we're also able to approach, sort of a wider surface area when it comes to that sort of integration.
Okay, can we get into AI for a second? Like there are a few things I want to cover. Stablecoins, X402, just get your thoughts on like what you're seeing. But are you like generally an AI doomer, or are you more for like the AI is gonna be great for the world kind of guy?
I'm definitely AI filled. I'm definitely
okay.
Yeah. I think that just zoom out and like try explaining anything that's happened in the past 3 months to like 12-year-old you. 12-year-old you would not believe it at all. And I think we really take that for granted.
Yeah, this stuff is crazy. So you talked about agents having their own wallets, like, bank accounts kind of come with all their own issues, but hey, by the way, agents can have their own wallets, they can transact with stable coins. And I think the thinking behind this becomes like, okay, agents are always going to choose the most optimal thing to do. And in this case, okay, well, I can get transaction from A to B extremely fast, extremely cheap with stablecoin rails and with X402 payment methods. Like, what excites you, I think, in terms of just AI in general right now?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, which is like, there's this very interesting overlap with agents being able to sort of act autonomously, and I think that there's a very clear directive with crypto as an overlap there. Yeah, I mean, so many different work streams that AI impacts, where I think crypto has a sort of a home. Payments, I think, is one thing. Stablecoins is massive, obviously. You also get into these really interesting use cases where, like, you might be able to create new kinds of experiences. You might have, an agent that basically runs a lot of, one area of your life, and you're able to sort of give them these directives and a wallet and a payment, sort of directive, and they're able to do that autonomously. I think that's really interesting. I think that on the consumer side, we're starting to see some pretty interesting use cases, revolving around trading, or revolving around an agent being able to, an agent being able to run different parts of your life, like I just said. Yeah, I think that the payments narrative becomes much grander when you factor in that a majority of sort of like on-chain payments in the next decade will probably be run by agents. Like right now, I think it's a little smaller, but when you think back to, like, before the birth of the internet, right, there was just this massive explosion that came with all of the companies that were able to create different stores and vendors and services on the internet. I think we'll likely see a similar sort of Cambrian explosion with agents. And I think it's amazing that there is an overlap with AI and crypto, because a lot of the traditional rails that we have right now sort of fall apart when you just give it to the agents that we have today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of staying on that stablecoin, conversation here, we're seeing, like, in these emerging markets, we're seeing a lot of QR payments in Brazil. A lot of third world countries, Africa, lots of these people are using QR payments. And, when I think about this, essentially it becomes, okay, well, these people are over time going to ditch their native currency, which is inflated to hell. And they're going to just start using stable coins, USDC. And I think that's kind of how we get towards a one world currency, and maybe even go into, like digital gold, silver, Bitcoin, like whatever it might be. How are you guys looking at, I guess, the convergence of QR codes and stable coins? Like, do you think stable coins are going to be the way people transact in the future? Like, do you have a thesis on this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think stablecoins are, like, an amazing business. So I think that people are very incentivized to do everything in their power to ensure that, whatever their locale operates in, that they're able to get, a piece of that pie. And it's also funny when you zoom out, like, it's also hard to imagine the current sort of like top stablecoin companies ever being beat by someone else, just because they have so much momentum. Which is a great competitive advantage. Yeah, I mean, I think that the thesis is, as if you are, anything over, if you are slightly positive at all about, like, AI, like if you are AI pilled to any degree, I think that it's very clear that a majority of payments in the future will be, run by agents, and the easiest way for agents to transact will be stable coins. And obviously, like, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that those agents have a Solana wallet and that they're using Solana rails. And I think that there's, a great advantage for them to do so for all of the reasons that we mentioned before from a market sort of like technical standpoint. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, when you sort of zoom out and take the long tail of that view, payments is obviously something that we're really focused on. And we want to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to make it easier for developers, teams, businesses, consumers to be able to tap into this, massive economy and market that we have, to be able to harness all of those advantages. Yeah.
I want to keep this Solana focused. So I don't want to derail too much talking about stable coins, but, like, my one last question is, we see, like, Tether, for example, is seeking a $500 billion valuation. They're raising, it's assuming that they're raising at a $500 billion valuation. They're probably looking to IPO pretty soon. Circle IPO'd. Now, why are these crypto companies, right? They're crypto-centric companies. Why are they going and listing on traditional markets and IPOing rather than, like, creating a tradable token? Do you have a like a reasoning for that?
100%. I mean, I think for the stablecoin companies, it makes sense, right? Because a lot of their business involves creating real world collateral, and I think that like I don't know, maybe ironically, like the way that you actually grow these things is by increasing the surface area of adoption for the broader economy that isn't currently operating in crypto. And so I don't know. I don't actually have like a negative opinion on that, because I think that ultimately the work that they're doing to expand that access will actually benefit all of us more in the time to come. I think that, I guess that's my take. Like, I think that the expanded access and awareness that they'll bring, and, the growth of their businesses, and will ultimately bring, billions on chain. And, then it's up to us to really, bring forth everything else for the normal people to really benefit from.
So what do you think that domino is that has to fall to really bring all these billions on chain? Is it stable coins? Is it agents? Is it QR code payments? Like what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I was saying this at the beginning of the stream, but I think it's so hard for anyone to like not be, really bullish on consumer crypto. And the reason why I think that is because, I mean, we'll just take like a few off the top like use cases, right? Like consumer DeFi with, low risk one click strategies, like consumer RWA, like collectibles, TCGs, like Pokemon, crypto neobanks, with self-custody made super easy, like add in prediction markets, add in tap trading, privacy. Like you have an insane roster, right? You have an insane roster of things there. And I think that, for a long time, I think people were so focused on trying to like educate users in crypto. Like I think that there was a really big emphasis on trying to educate people. And I can't remember where I saw this, but yeah, I think that ultimately, like people don't necessarily like want to learn all of the intricacies and complexities and what they're using. They just want something that works and is like very easy to use, right? And those benefits will become obvious over time. And so with all of those sort of use cases that I listed, I think that it's really obvious how those benefits compound over time, especially in using on-chain rails. And so I'm really bullish, because once we get, once we have that sort of expanded awareness and adoption, we actually have apps that are far better than what you get in a traditional sort of world. So that's sort of my take on that.
Dude, so you mentioned TCGs, and like we had Collector Crypt on yesterday, and like you mentioned that like these consumer apps being a massive onboarding for crypto. I mean, $23.5 million in volume is what I think their Pokemon Gacha did last week. It's just wild to see stuff like that happen. You're talking with all these teams. Maybe we'll start going into that direction. What are you most excited for from the teams you're talking to right now? Maybe tell us about some of those teams and what they're building, or whatever you can get into.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of them fall in those categories that I just mentioned. Crypto neobanks with self-custody, I think that's massive. Being able to tap into, DeFi with like a low risk one-click strategy. People are so used to basically getting zero interest on all of the money sitting in their bank account. Right. And I think that, when you bring someone on and you realize you give them the ability to basically have their money sit in the equivalent of like a high yield savings account, like, their mind is kind of blown. And then when you give them the possibility of like being able to use a lot of the apps that they already use and still have that kind of yield, I think that that's like another mind blowing moment. And like that's possible today. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the teams that I've been working with, over the past 2 weeks, really, really interesting. So I've been working with a few teams that are really tackling head on that sort of like 0 to 1 aspect of bringing fundraising on chain. One of them that I think is really, really interesting is Fair.club. They're sort of building out that more sort of structured, bringing the entire sort of fundraising process on chain. And they've done that in a really sort of comprehensive and structured way, where it's not just about, bringing all of the same kind of legal structures, but also ensuring that founders understand, who these people are that are actually investing in their project. They've done a really good job of creating scoring and that sort of thing. Would definitely check them out. I think that there's a lot of good stuff from them to come.
And can I pause on that real quick? Shout out Stud Home, shout out Fair.club. They recently had someone come on that's building a silver platform. And like we had this conversation with them as well. We were like, look, if I showed my grandma that she could hold her silver, but instead of just holding her silver, she could actually make, 4, 5, 6, 8% on some of this stuff. Like, why would she not do it? And I think my question to you becomes, okay, it's so obvious to us. Like, we see these incredible yields, but then you also get the other side where you see something like Drift get hacked for nearly $300 million. And it's like, what's kind of holding us back from that moment? Because yes, everyone wants DeFi, and like I would love to be getting these great yields. But there's also that like security aspect. What's kind of the gap here between everyone coming on chain and getting, taking advantage of these great deals to also like, I'm too scared to use these DeFi protocols?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I think that the simple and perhaps unsatisfying answer is that I think as adoption grows, like humans will always continue to improve things, right? Like we will always continue to improve and improve things and make them more secure and better. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that there have been a lot of like really unfortunate sort of like moments that have created great learning experiences. But ultimately, I think as we, have broader awareness and adoption, we will do a better job of, creating systems where we can't have those things happen. So I think that's one bit. I think that, I think that there's another side where, eventually, like, of course, these things carry some kind of risk, but, to the extent that, we have like drift incidents, I think that those will become few and far between. So I think that will be, far less concern for a normal person, trying out these different kinds of yields.
No, that's a great answer. I just wanted your take on that real quick. And you can keep going on that same thought process if you have it saved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anyway, yeah. So yeah, Fair.club, I think it's really cool. Would definitely check them out. They've been doing a lot of great work. Yeah, Mark Studholm's the founder. He's amazing. A few other things like I know that you guys are really familiar with Mercy. He's been sort of giving out little teasers of his new project Ally that is, really meant to solve the problem of like, you go to a hackathon, you do something really fun and interesting, and then the hackathon ends, and it's like, what do you do after that? And so he's creating this connective layer for people who are goated with the sauce to be able to come back and connect with each other to continue building. Really interesting incentive structure that he's doing there. And the website, from the little teasers that I've seen, have really nice gamification element, which is awesome. And let's see what else. I think that there have been, I don't want to disclose too much here just because they're still building, but I've seen a lot of people who are trying to experiment with ways to save the trenches. And so I think I put out a tweet, around this regarding like permissionless doesn't mean frictionless. Yeah. Okay. You got it right there. I obviously don't want to give away too much, but there are a lot of teams that are trying really interesting novel mechanisms here that, still are able to sort of like harness the insane liquidity and distribution that you can get on chain, while also, creating perhaps like fair launch mechanisms for different tokens, creators, businesses, funds. I really don't want to reveal a lot here, but I think that we've seen some really cool experiments, both on the launchpad side. I think we've also seen it on sort of like on the more DeFi side. Like I previously saw Fraudsworth, I think was a really cool experiment because it allowed, it sort of like reminded me of earlier meme coins in the sense where, you still have like the insane liquidity that can come with an experiment being on chain, but by virtue of creating a little bit of friction, so people had to, research or understand what they were able to do within the DeFi game itself. I think that little bit of friction actually can create a more engaged user base. And this is something that I've been talking with, in a lot of the teams that I've met with, which is you actually don't want to make everything completely easy to use. Like you actually want to introduce friction at certain points within the user journey to create intrigue or to create pauses where, people have to consider the decisions that they're making. So I think Fraudsworth was like one example, but like I've met with, over 7 different teams that are all working on really interesting, sort of experiments to save the trenches. And I think that there's a lot of good stuff coming within the next 2 months.
It's actually nice that you mentioned Fraudsworth, because we're having them come on the show here this week, just to kind of get the lowdown on everything. It's definitely something interesting. I like the barrier to entry, that it's not just every user can just automatically come in, and you really have to think about this, do your research and dig in. I really like that part as well, and I agree with that a lot. But you said that you met with teams that are out to save the trenches, and just for context, explain why you feel like the trenches need saving.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of discussions on this, but I think that I think that there are several different views. Like one of the views is that there's a lack of marginal buyers for some of these like related meme coins. I think, previously we saw a lot of these sort of things skyrocket, and then we had several different companies come in and create like really novel and interesting mechanisms to reduce friction for launches. And so I think it's one of those natural things where it's like, obviously when you reduce friction, like you provide value to a market, and now anyone can launch anything sort of like permissionlessly without any friction. You're going to start to feel a natural gravitational pull to experiments that introduce a little bit more friction, so that the game is a little bit harder to play, and it's not so easily solved, right? It's hard to say like whether a lot of this is due to just like general market temperature or sentiment, or whether it's due to the actual like mechanisms in terms of how these like coins are deployed or launched. But I guess I'll just say like more broadly, I think that just judging off of the teams that I've met with in the past month or so, I think that we will start to see a swing towards some of these like more interesting, novel kinds of experiments that introduce a little bit more friction, that are maybe more reminiscent of what it was like to participate in the trenches, like a few years ago. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff to come there with these sort of like novel experiments that add more friction.
Yeah, and real quick on this topic of friction, there was actually this tweet that Jack posted about Togi. I'm not sure if you know who this guy is. He's a creator, but he talked about how it used to cost like $1,000 to create a meme coin and like run these scams or whatever. And like the truth is, when there was friction, it made selection a lot easier because you didn't have to sift through 1,000 projects to find the true gem, right? If someone was building a good project, they'd have to invest in it. I don't know. Do you think like the model we've gotten so used to has been a detriment to the trenches, or has it been good? I know we've seen Vibu. He said like, porn scaled the internet, and like meme coin scaled Solana, and there's some truth in that. But at the same time, it's kind of seemed, at least from my perspective, a little detrimental. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. Let's see. Has it been detrimental? I mean, I would argue that it was really valuable, right? Like that is exactly what the market wanted, and that's why these different mechanisms to reduce friction for like deploying coins or tokenization across all launch pads, right? Like including Believe. I think that those were really valuable at the time because it was a massive pain in the ass to set these things up. Like I think the friction involved, even if you had a malicious actor like Togi trying to rug people, like it was clearly valuable to the market. But yeah, I mean, I think we're now at a point where I think you would argue that the tooling that we have is so advanced that I think that these markets are just like accurately pricing these things at a much faster degree. Like I think that price discovery is just happening much faster. So I think that there's sort of like the gamification aspect of it, where we can talk about like, for meme coins specifically, like PvP, Vamps, like a lot of these things fragment liquidity, and that's like very obvious. And the tools that people have at their disposal to be able to detect these things, I think actually just make these markets really, really efficient at pricing these narratives and ideas. And I think that, again, the pendulum swinging back to the other side where, these things are a little bit more cost intensive. They have a little bit more friction. These tools start to become less valuable and less efficient. And that means that price discovery can actually happen over a longer period of time. People have more appetite for, seeing the different potential of how high these things can go. And, I think that like whatever Frosworth, I think is a really good example of that. But like I said, there have been several teams that I've worked with, even on like, a more complex side, that are trying to build sort of rails in this world that make that friction a little bit more valuable to be engaged with. So yeah, I mean, I think that's my point is, I generally agree with Vibu's take that these things definitely scaled the chain, and I think that we will see a natural pendulum swing to the other side of the market.
Okay, this has been a brilliant conversation. I think we've covered a lot. I got this last tweet I want to cover, but we'll respect your time and kind of like wrap here after this. But you said, one of why Believe initially did well was because of how many amazing deployers it kind of drew to the ecosystem. One thing we hammer home on all these launch pads is this launch pad maybe have great mechanisms. Maybe it's amazing with this, or this, and it's 10 times better than the other ones here. But if you don't have a pipeline and you don't have great deployers, well, then it amounts to nothing. What are kind of your thoughts on bringing on and onboarding great deployers to crypto, and how important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I think that, for better or for worse, a lot of the really big catalysts that have brought or sort of like onboarded people or brought broader awareness to people who might not have been in crypto have, you know, been created from people who sort of had this naivete and they didn't understand what couldn't work, and they decided to go for it anyway. And so, you know, I think that even if I believe like some of the best projects that we had were created by founders who didn't really know what they were doing initially, and they ended up being, you know, really successful things. And the reason, I mean, like, we can argue about, you know, why that is. I think that like beginner's luck is another way to describe this naivete that stops you from doing hard things. But I think that, you know, more broadly speaking, you know, this is something that is really valuable to the entire ecosystem, and just in terms of like onboarding new people. Because if you're able to onboard, you know, a new creator, a new developer, a new founder, and they build something that onboards the next, you know, 1,000 users, like that is really, really valuable, right? As the network effects continue to compound. So, I think it's important. I think that any product that is able to reach someone who might, you know, previously not been aware of crypto or sort of written it off, I think is really, really valuable. And if you just look back over the past year about like, you know, in terms of like what have been the events that have been, you know, the biggest sort of onboarding events, I would argue that a lot of them have this overlap between, you know, the general crypto user base and people who previously didn't interact with them at all. There are a few projects that I think did a really good job of that. Some that are obviously controversial, but yeah, I think it's important to be able to onboard net new developers, founders, creators. Like let's bring more people on chain.
Seems like you guys are doing that through a bunch of different means. I've been very impressed with Solana Foundation recently with Super Team USA, with the new security measures it's taking. My last question to you, I guess, final thoughts are, why Solana? Why are you betting on Solana to win this RWA scene, the stablecoin scene, traditional finance? Like, why is Solana going to be the overarching winner in your mind?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you know, it has the deepest liquidity. It has, you know, sort of like from a technical standpoint, it's absolutely the fastest, the best technicals. I think it's the easiest to build on. But I think more broadly than that, like, you know, it literally is an entire network, and you can kind of think about it like as a network state to some degree. The culture, the developers here, the ecosystem, I think is really welcoming to a degree, to the point where you need to be successful. And I think that that's really valuable. I think that we have, you know, all of the institutional facing teams that are really great at what they're doing to be able to bring broader awareness to sort of traditional finance. I think all in all, it's like, you know, when you boil it down to what does it take to bring the world on chain, I think that we have all of the pieces there. And I'm just grateful that I get to play a very small part in working with founders and building consumer products.
Let's go, Taylor. Dude, it was a pleasure talking. I feel like we dived into just about everything under the sun here. So it's been a great conversation. Are you going to be at Consensus or Accelerate Miami?
I'll be at Accelerate Miami.
All right, dude, say less. Then we will definitely say what's up. We're trying to get a few things going down there, do some demo days, get some great founders, some distribution. So maybe we can connect on that and talk to you again. So thanks, Taylor.
Awesome. It was great being here, guys. Have a great day.
Pleasure. Peace.
All right, Taylor, take care. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome interview, dude. Takeaways?
I could go down the list, dude. There's like, we talked about stable coins, we talked about AI, we talked about Solana, we talked about DeFi. I don't know, all great stuff. I think Taylor's super smart. He's a great addition to the Solana team, and clearly he's getting with consumer products and adding his expertise in some way, shape, or form. I guess I should have probably dug into that specifically a little more. Hey, like, what are you doing for these teams? Is it giving advice? Is it connections? Is it all of the above? I don't know. Just bullish on Solana. I think a lot of really interesting stuff that he covered. And I think he was pretty much spot on with everything. I don't think I had any disagreements. So cool to see, man. It's been awesome. You know, and that story, dude, the Nancy Pelosi thing was crazy. I mean, I'm sure everyone here has seen the Nancy Pelosi Twitter tracker on X. Like, if you're in finance, you've seen it, dude. Hilarious to know that he was kind of behind creating that X account and the technology there behind it. Wild.
Yeah, that was I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. But yeah, that was a fascinating conversation. I liked what we were talking about, just in terms of where we are with you know, tokenization, startups on chain. Like, I love his takes there as well. Like, there's still a lot of things that we need to kind of figure out, but you know, best believe that there are teams like hunting, right, to solve these problems. So or kind of like solve those issues. And I love his take on Fraudsworth. That was a big part of the core thesis for Fraudsworth was there's some friction there, right? There's a barrier to entry. Only the people that actually do the research, that actually like have some sort of conviction, actually push through and number one, read through everything, fully research everything, but also number two, buy in, stake, go to the website. Like, I really do think that having a little bit of friction, it really helps you to weed out or filter out the weak hands like very early, or weak community members, because we've seen it, right? Something launches, it goes up, it goes down a little bit, but then you have like a community member that's, they put all their eggs in a basket, and it's time to flood the team now, right? And so I think there's this balance between old school ETH days, traditional trenching on ETH, where there's a high barrier of entry, there's a high cost to deploy tokens, and so there's that dynamic. But then there's also the Solana dynamic that we've seen for most of the cycle. Bonded tokens, sub 50K and under, and we've seen kind of the pros and cons of both, right? Like on Ethereum, the pros and cons were, gas fees were too high. It's difficult to create a token. Launch day for everybody was a nightmare versus Solana. Yeah, absolutely a nightmare versus Solana, where you have frictionless, you have, it's very easy to launch a token. It's very cheap. The gas fees are awesome. But then you also have that dynamic of, oh man, like it's a lot of like scams, and, it's a lot of serial deployers, a lot of grifters that are starting to come out. So there's those two dynamics, and I feel like we've explored them both in these last couple of cycles. In 2021, it was the ETH dynamic. In 2024, 25, it was the Solana dynamic. And now I think this next, whatever we figure out next, is what will take us from like truly 0 to 1 to like the next generation of the trenches, right? And, call it like hyper efficient markets where meme coins get like automatically priced in very quickly. And maybe that is the case, but maybe one of these teams that Taylor is talking to, maybe they figured something out to kind of increase the friction, but still make it easy for teams to launch.
Yeah, he mentioned a lot of friends of the show. I mean, I feel like everyone he mentioned was like, oh yeah, we love Studhome. Okay, yeah, we love Mercy. We love all these people. So good reinforcement for the people we're bringing on. We get the right people. Lots of comments, guys. Let's start going through these. Ave said a little bit of GSD news. I'd seen that was pumping. Josh did really good on his bean trade. That's doing really, really well. Cap, yeah, great to see Taylor. Really love what he's doing here. It looks like we have questions about Kita as well from Flo. So he's kind of bringing it to the base side. Crypto Jones, I promised you I would pull up Foreskin. I didn't want to say it before Taylor came on because he would probably just turn around and left. But you've been asking for me to pull up Foreskin, and I saw the meme you were referring to. I'll just pull it up now, and I'm gonna let you chill, just take the stage basically after this. But so I saw the meme that everyone was talking about, and I was like, now I get why Crypto Jones wants me to pull up this chart and why he's been DLMing it. He's been DLMing it. But 4Gen is a new technology, I think. For anyone seeing this, okay, I'll give you the context here. And this, Josh is not here, man, because he would have a rude awakening if he found this out. The male G-spot revealed, and everyone who guessed it's in the rear was wrong. Intensely pleasurable. And I guess there's a link here from the New York Post that says the male G-spot is not, in fact, in the butthole, in the bung, in the anus, but in fact in the foreskin. No surprise there. Again, detrimental for Josh. He's gonna he's gonna be very confused. But with that being said, that's the context. And so 4Gen comes out and says, for anyone seeing this and realizing what circumcision has taken from them, your feelings are valid and we're working on a solution. 4Gen is developing a regenerative medicine procedure to restore the foreskin in form, function, and sensation. So I think maybe Crypto Jones, that's a bit of context on what you were talking about. So is there like a ticker you want us to look at for that? Is that like a DLMM thing you want us to check out? I don't know, but you told me to check out yesterday. I promised I would. I forgot about it. And then this popped up on my feed. I'm like, it all makes sense.
Oh my goodness. What a what a narrative for a token, huh? Yeah, definitely didn't think that that's what we'd be talking about today on stream. However, you know, if the market likes it, the market likes it. Oh my gosh, I just searched the ticker on X.
Oh no,
uh,
no.
trying to find I why did I do that? Why did I freaking do that? I'm retarded,
This got
unfortunately.
40
Or
million views. Holy
yeah,
cow.
this is crazy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe don't search the ticker on Twitter. That we'll take that one to the chin. That was on us. But is there a ticker you can pull up on the chart?
Yes, the
Trojan or
chart.
something?
Oh my gosh, the picture on this thing is crazy. That's what I saw. I saw the PFP of the token,
Okay.
which is
It's like a little. It's
nuts.
like a little dick just trying to like poke out, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Anywho, let's take a look at this thing here. For your sake, Crypto Jones, this is all for you, brother. This is all for you. So here is here's the chart. I'm not gonna lie, fantastic chart. On the hourly looks really really good. Let's see. For DLMM, it would have been much better to get in for a deal in position like off this discovery candle here, right? Like up here, bang. I would have spot deal him down all the way to 126k. I think that probably would have been like minus like 90% or something, minus 75%. Yeah, that's where I would deal him down to and just collect all this. And again, this is why I was telling you, Crypto Jones, where spot DLMMing is a lot. It could be potentially better than bid ask, because again, with us as traders, like if we have a natural on-chain trading background, as many of us on this stream do, you know, it's one of those things where you can it's one of those things where you can you could be a little bit more precise with what you do with DLMMing. So it's just something for me that's I found really that works really nice. Looks like it's pumping right now, but yeah, I would definitely do spot over bid ask, especially when I can, you know, have a especially because you don't really know how low these things will go, right? You really don't know if it'll be, if you're doing just, you know, random dog water tokens, yeah, it'll go more than minus 90%. But, you know, for some of these, you know, you don't know if it's going to go all the way down. And in this case, it didn't go minus 90% from all-time high. It went minus 60%. So having that spot, those equal DCA ins across the board going down gives you more exposure, thus more fees at a potentially higher market cap if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't to go as low as we think it will. So that's the coverage that the DLM set up here on this token. I don't think I want to repeat the name, unfortunately, Crypto
I'll
Jones,
repeat it.
but
Foreskin. You can trade Foreskin on Trojan. Just the QR
yes, you
code in the
can.
bottom left corner. It's, you know, I'll say it, right? Trade it at your own will. If you lose all your money to Foreskin, that's going to be on you guys. Okay. But you can trade it, and you can get 45% cash back by scanning the QR code in the bottom left corner. Or, you know, simply, if you feel like searching it, you can search trojan.com/@MCG to get the best cash back in the game.
And real quick, just to close out this segment, since we were talking about the DLimming on this one, there was this curve DLim because you have 3 different strategies, right? We've talked about spot a lot, and we've also talked about the bid ask strategy, but the curve strategy isn't something that's used a ton. I wonder if this would be potentially a good one for the curve strategy if we think this thing goes back up. But yeah, spot would definitely be much better. So that's the coverage there on that token. Definitely want to trade that on Trojan. Bottom left of the screen, scan the QR code. Beyond that, though, guys, here's the setup for the rest of the stream. So we already did through we went through some breaking news. And unfortunately, let me just take that down. I'm just gonna actually let's go to the Bitcoin chart here. So we covered some breaking news at the beginning. We're going to now go through Bitcoin, macro, majors, and then we'll kind of get into the trenches, right? So we'll cover Bitcoin, we'll cover some majors, and then we'll cover some stuff happening on chain. and then we'll go into some tickers, right? So any alpha, some new projects that I'm looking into. I got a few a couple of thoughts for you guys. you're freaking hilarious. So if you guys have anything you want us to check out, definitely let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to check it out for you guys, like we just did with Crypto Jones. You're welcome there, brother. Holy moly, what a token. Okay.
Macro segment. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happened. Chuds. All right. What's the outlook here?
All right, here's the outlook. So we talked about this. I mean, the outlook is still the same. We've been talking about this for several weeks now, right? Like the sub 60K level is something that I'm looking for us to tag before I get obnoxiously bullish. Like I'm going to be so bullish, it'll probably make even me nauseous a little bit. So I'm still waiting. And so much
winning. Get tired of winning.
But that has to come after, in my opinion, a reset, right? Like a reset on this chart to sub 60K. Really quick, just to go through the reasons why. As you can see, POC, liquidity magnet, a lot of it is built up below this 60K level. This magnet means that this is where most of the liquidity on the chart is resting at. So limit orders, liquidation levels, all those things are all on this chart, and typically, this is where the chart likes to gravitate towards at some point. So with that being said, let's start high time frame real quick. Although we do want, or although we are expecting a sub 60K level on Bitcoin, we have to understand, I tweeted about this yesterday. I basically said, look, we have went down for 5 months in a row on Bitcoin. 5 months in a row on Bitcoin. And on other assets that we'll talk about here in a second, we've gone down even more so. Really quick to look at ETH. We've gone down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row. On Solana, we've gone down 6 months in a row, right? So as we can see on these major assets, we've gone down so much. Is it really logical for us to expect us to go straight down to this green box, although that's what we've had in mind this whole time? I don't think so. I think that perhaps we have to be more open to the idea of a bounce. We have to be. And again, I'm not here to predict price action. I have no idea what these charts are going to do. I don't have a crystal ball. However, because of that fact, we need to think probabilistically. And so Tom is hilarious. And so we have to think probabilistically. And so the probability of us going straight to this green box sub 60K is not a high probability, right? Like it's not or I should say it's not 100% probability. So there's a non-zero chance that we go for higher before we go for lower. And we're already seeing evidence a little bit of that. We were talking about just the other day on I think it was on Monday. Yes, on Monday, we notated the 2-day SFP down here at 65K. Right now, we are forming somewhat of an SFP right here around 72K. So we have to keep an eye on that. But again, we have to be open, at the very least, open to the idea of going higher before going lower and fully resetting. And so that's what I'm looking at now. I covered this yesterday in a tweet, and I'll just quickly read that tweet here so that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the tweet here. Some of my updated views on Bitcoin. Like we mentioned, majors have gone down 5 to 8 months. We looked at some, BTC, ETH, Solana. You can look at other altcoins as well. And you can see the same thing. But we have, because of that downside, it's reasonable to expect that we could bounce. Call it a bear market rally. Those happen all the time. Call it a relief bounce. Those happen all the time. Call it a mean reversion. That happens all the time. So we might not go straight to the box in one line, but that means we could bounce. And I'm willing to say we can go as high as 80K. I've been saying that on these streams for a long time, and I'm still open to that. But keep in mind that this is what I'll be looking for. And I'll zoom in here just a little bit so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Above the range here, If we go above the range, I'm looking for signs of rejection, right? Below the range, all the way down here, I'm looking for signs of reversal. Those are my two rules. So as we make our way to 80K, maybe we make it to 72. As you can see here on the open liquidity chart, let's look on the daily for a more accurate view. There's resting liquidity here at 75.6. There's resting liquidity at 77.5. And maybe even closer to 88K, or I should say 80K. So we should be open to us traveling up to these levels. We've already there was a 72K level that had a lot of shorts and some liquidity built up. We've already tagged that level. So who knows? Maybe the upside is capped now. But with the backdrop of, the Strait of Hormuz closing, who knows? Maybe that makes people a little bit more confident, a little bit more bullish. But at the very least, that wraps the Bitcoin segment up. So I say all of that to say we could go up, but we could go down. You know what I mean? But those are expectations. The last thing I'll say on this is, like I said in the tweet, if we get more relief, take advantage of the green candles, but don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by don't drink the Kool-Aid? I want to show you this tweet that shows you exactly what drinking the Kool-Aid actually looks like. Here's this tweet here, and not trying to say anything bad or anything about the person himself. This is Taz. That's the homie. Appreciate you. Appreciate you and everything. But we're about to see the biggest bull run in human history. No, we're not. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe not. We can't think in certainties. We got to think in probabilities.
It's like that one meme when it's all the way down, but there's one green candle, and it's like 1%.
Exactly. And that's what we have to be wary of. We can't drink the Kool-Aid. Yes, we're seeing a bounce, but keep in mind every time we've peaked above this range, we've gone back below it every single time. We saw it here, we saw it here, right? So we have to just be logical, be reasonable about how we're thinking about the market and not get too emotional. However, take advantage of the green candle. So in my opinion, if we do sustain more upside, then look on chain, start looking for plays. I'm already like, you know me, like I've been trading. If you've been in my if you've been in my Telegram, I haven't been like actively trading new pairs and trying to ape into every little thing that has launched. But if I see something interesting come across the desk, like a Fraudsworth that we discussed with Taylor, I'm gonna look into that and I'm gonna ape. But I think now is a time where it's good to look for things that you have confidence in, right? Look for things that are interesting happening on chain, because ultimately I am feeling somewhat of a shift happening, because we're seeing a lot of memes bounce. We're seeing a lot of things starting to catch a bid, essentially. And so that's why I say stay on your toes, but don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's the Bitcoin. That's the Bitcoin breakdown. And of course, you can trade all of these things on chain on Trojan, bottom left corner of the screen, trojan.com/@MCG. A few things to look at outside of Bitcoin. Ethereum, we flagged this the other day. We see a breakout of the multi-month downtrend. We had a sort of SFP here on the 1 day, but we've now invalidated that. So that's a really good sign. ETH not only breaking out, but continuing to show strength. It's not just meandering and doing some sideways price action. Same thing with, not same thing, but Solana's still stuck in this range that it's been in. It has broken out of the downtrend technically, but again, still meandering sideways. So I'm waiting to see what we get on a move for Solana. Again, if you look at a high time frame, many red candles down. And so now we're kind of looking for where price will settle. We had the 2-week SFP form here at the bottom, confluent with the 0.786 on the pullback. We've covered that. And so now we just look for more signs of, lower time frame strength, because right now, as it stands, there's still just some ranging price action going on. And on this 2-day, we actually formed this fair value gap, and I'll just mark that here, this 2-day FEG, and that's been playing out here. Bang! Every time we've hit it, we've rejected. So just something to be aware of. I thought I thought Solana would actually be a lot stronger here, but it looks like it's just kind of stalling. So waiting for some more price action to develop. Now onto our 4 majors that we track. We've been tracking Fartcoin here for a bit. Man, look at this thing. We've broken out the downtrend once. That's when we have originally flagged it. We caught the 12-hour, actually it's a daily SFP to kind of look for signs of reversal, and it invalidated the 1-day fair value gap, and now we're headed to we were headed higher prices. I mean, look, if you want to say be ideological about meme coins and say that you hate meme coins, hey, go for it. But all I'm saying is 35% in the last couple of days here. So take that for what it's worth. Memes absolutely have staying power. The only thing I'm looking for on this token here is just for let's see, I had marked out, this was like an area of resistance here, as you can see on the 3-day. Let me actually delete that so it's a little bit clearer. But yeah, as you can see, this is an area of resistance. We could even put it right there just to be a little bit more technical about it. But as you can see, this was where it was formed. This is where it was tested. This is where it was tested again. And we haven't broke back above it. So essentially, I'm looking for 2 things as we go to a lower time frame. I'm seeing Bitcoin again. We could go higher, but we are seeing an SFP, a bearish SFP on Bitcoin, meaning that lower price action is ahead. So maybe we kind of hit this resistance, come down, test this FEG, and then I'll look for some sort of sign of reversal there before continuation higher. So I'm taking this level by level, guys. I'm not out here calling for a new bull market.
Did we lose him? Did we lose him, boys? It's okay. I'll take it from here. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't you fear. Dinero Dom. We'll take it from here. All right. Boom. Add to the stage. We did Bitcoin. He talked about Fartcoin. I think he got that for the most part. Talk about hype. Hype's up off a pump. Still looking for lower, I think sub 32 is kind of the range I would really like to get my hands on this for. Of course, just continues to be the thesis that traditional finance is going to pick this up and adopt these 24/7 markets. Same thesis for Robinhood. So hype and Robinhood fit in that boat. Give me sub 32. I don't know if we get it, but if we do, I'll be happy to take a stab at it. Tau looking really, really good. Still pumping. This is kind of the AIX crypto convergence. Yeah, would probably still want to pull back on this as well. And I think probably not much below this range, maybe just stabbing into here. And if we get that, maybe continuing to add to see this come up. Again, we're still in this lower range. We haven't really broken out too much yet, but we know Tau has been strong in comparison to everything else. And of course, they have some really good subnets on there, which is really what the thesis becomes for Tau all the time. Oh, sounds like Chill's back. Maybe he covers Zach. You want to cover Zach for us?
Yeah, bro, got you. Am I good?
You're good now, yeah.
Awesome. It is storming here, so yeah.
Which means it's storming here as well.
Yeah, Chill just vaporized out of thin air. I literally did. I literally did, courtesy of the rainstorm happening outside. So
I might
let
be
me
next. Let's speed run this for the
let's
sake of you
speedrun
guys.
this. All right, let's do it. So we're talking about hype last. I'm assuming you finished that, and I saw you went to Tau.
Yeah, covered Tau, covered hype. I think we just need Zach really at this point.
Okay, cool. Zach looking absolutely crazy. Actually, if we go down here, bang, look at freaking Zach, just a monster, conquering all these levels here, just looking very, very good right now. Again, something that we've been covering on the show for a while. We've took a note of the breakout of the multi-month downtrend. I think what's most interesting about Zek is if you notice on stuff like Farcoin, we have this monthly resistance, right? Same thing with Solana. We have this upper the ranges top resistance here. But with ZEC, it's actually like broken out of that resistance, right? Like it's broken out of this range that it's been in for such a long time. And so now, I mean, I'm looking for, now that it's broken out, I'm looking for, maybe it goes a little higher, but may pull back, and I'm looking for something, some evidence here of a bounce. So I'm waiting on a pullback to get long. That's where I'd be looking for that as well. Last
Testing
thing
that
I'll
range.
flag, exactly, testing that range. Last thing I'll flag is Monad. We've talked about Monad last week, and I said, hey guys, like I think this is looking kind of good. And since we've covered Monad last week, it's up about 70%. So really good, really good. Again, we want to keep an eye on majors, stuff that we can long, stuff that
Are
we can,
you in this? Did you put some leverage on this? I think I remember you
I
mentioning like
did.
maybe a little 3x Trojan
Yeah,
leverage on this.
I did. I did leverage this. I went long on this on Trojan, but I was actually like out here because I didn't really know how it'll react in the zone. I mean, you see here and here, it's been respecting this level. I'd even say here, here, here. Every time it's peaked into this level, it's always rejected. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna close out. And same thing. If this wants to go higher, like I think it does, the next logical place would actually be the 40K level. So let me just quickly hit this. Bang, bang. This is the kind of level I would even go as far as erasing this 3-day level here. But those will be my next two levels to watch out for. So if we decide to go higher, maybe we reject there. And again, watch for a pullback, and I'll try to look for evidence of getting long down back here as we retest key levels. So that's the breakdown for all of our majors here so far. I was rambling on for quite a long time. Hopefully that didn't bore you guys or put you guys to sleep. Yeah.
But we'll get into the bread and butter right now. Okay, so
Let's
we have
do it.
Akita. We need to cover Serve. It bounced exactly off of that 0.15 zone you were talking about. Karma is one that we need to go over. So we got a few requests right now. We did foreskin for Jones, so we don't need to do that again.
All right, cool. So let's run it here. The first thing
GST as well.
There's something on base that you just mentioned. Man.
Serve.
Oh, yes,
Let's check out Serve, which
so we'll
trying to get them to book next week. Haven't locked that in yet, but would be a great conversation.
I was in their Telegram, and somebody tagged me in their Telegram because if you guys know, I've been a long time Serve bull, right? So I actually went in their Telegram. Somebody had tagged me saying that they wanted to get the team on. I told them we're down. So let's see.
Did you see me up there bag working?
I saw you, bro. We like, look, guys, we're doing it all for you, chat. We're out here bag working. We're in the comment section. We're in TG communities. Like MCG is raiding on your behalf. So
in that mode, baby.
But yeah, so here's the pullback zone. I honestly still think we can pull back to this level. The fact that this is kind of stalling out a little bit. I want to say this is this discovery candle here was basically just off of a few shills on the timeline, right? People are starting to realize like, oh my goodness, we're mispricing Serve, but I think there's still inefficient pricing going on. So I still think a pullback is in order. It did tap the buy zone very, very slightly here at 15 mil, but I think we could actually get a more meaningful pullback, something to look like this, and then going up. But again, all depends on Bitcoin at the end of the day. We need to see if Bitcoin runs or if it decides to stall out and pull back. I think that will determine a lot of the on-chain price action. I don't know if you guys saw SMCF all-time high 1.5 mil coming all the way from 140K market cap. This was when we had the interview. So clean little 10x on research full breakdowns, everything, the whole shebang. You guys got the full thesis, and we did some live DD on that for you as well. I see some other tokens like Kelly Claude trying to form some sort of bottom, still waiting for that to have some more meaningful price action. Let's talk about KTA. I saw somebody wanted us to break down Kita. I was a huge bull on Kita. A nice, that was back in their early days. I actually did a nice clean P&L off this chart. I was actually in at these levels here. It was I did buy a top back then, but it's like 20 cents or something, 25, I think. But I wrote it up, and I actually sold over here after it deleted its gains and kind of read up. I kind of decided to clip it there. But I don't know, Kita, I have to do some more fundamental research on Kita, because from what I heard, I think the team fumbled a little bit from what I heard. So I want to get a sense of what's going on there with the team before I'm vocally bullish on Kita. But at the end of the day, Kita is in a nice key level. It's back in the range it was in initially, and the top of that range held quite a bit for support, but we finally broke back into the range. So it's actually not a bad place if we're looking purely at the chart, but I would need the fundamentals to confirm that. So that's Kita. What else we got? Let's look at Bean. Bean, actually, this was a call out by Josh. Shout out to homie. He did really well on this. He called this out at like 350K or something like that. Obviously a little Christmas tree going on. But I will say this, from our interview last week, they said 80% of the circulating supply was locked. So you guys know, if you know me, you follow my content for a while, you know that I like deflationary tokens. Deflation is one of the best ways historically in crypto to print absolutely insane returns across assets. So it's something that I want to be mindful of as I look at these markets. So yeah, I like the look here in terms of the deflation. And we'll talk about another project on Solana, Fraudsworth, that actually has that as well. But yeah, Bean looking really good. I think some of the latest stuff I saw for Bean was just around their numbers. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys real quick here. Here it is. So here's a post from Bitman. Actually, great dude. Let me follow him back. Good content here. 54,000 Bean is locked or staked. So again, huge, or I should say, and this is of about like 67,000. So about 14,000 tokens are left on the market. So again, most of the supply down with the 6-7, most of the supply is actually locked up and out of circulation. So it's actually very, very tight supply. Like if any type of demand, if any type of demand comes back for this token, we're going straight up. And that's not moon talk. That is how markets work. If there isn't, if there's too much demand and there's not enough supply, price has to accommodate. And so that means it'll go higher. I think that'll cover it for our base segment. I guess the last thing that we'll cover, we touched on Agent a few days ago. This has also been trending really well. Some sort of social media for AI agents. So coming off the Moltbook acquisition by Facebook, there's some excitement around this. And I saw the homie Miyamoto, he's also been bullish on this. So yeah, that'll do it for the base segment. So now let's go to Solana. Again, all these tokens you can trade on Trojan on Solana. So bottom left of the screen, you want to scan the QR code. Let's go to GSD first. I heard GSD, they are now profitable, apparently. Token has been ranging. Yeah, token has been ranging and holding up really, really well. And I'd even say Yeah, I'd even say this, but yeah, holding really, really well inside of this range. I'm wondering who is like accumulating supply, what wallet is aping all of this, but or holding this up. Obviously people are interested. Uh, and there, this, as you know, this orange line, we've talked about GSD before. That orange line is the big reset that happened for GSD holders. And by reset, I mean, there's a tweet that went out. A lot of the market didn't like it. A lot of people dumped, but obviously now interest is back. So the TA from before that line, in my opinion, is invalidated. The holders of before are not the holders here now. And so this is the part of the chart.
Well, speaking of new holders, look at this.
Who's that? What's that? What's that?
It's Finn Bags, founder of Bags.
No way.
Has been buying GSD. It looks like he buys. He bought
Holy crap.
874, and then $874 right here. So he's up on that. I'm wondering if that's what kind of caused the pump. But breaking news here when I'm searching GSD. Also, BNN just dropped this. Breaking GSD Foundation just dropped a token flywheel. Holders get real utility. Non-holders fund buybacks plus burns. Hold 250K GSD. Free access to GSD Cloud. No tokens equals pay monthly subscription. Subscription revenue equals auto buyback and burn. And the remaining percent funds the treasury. Real usage, real demand, real reduction. So there you go. You actually have a flywheel now integrated into GSD, which it seems like that's the reasoning for the pump. So I'm glad we're able to report this here in real time. Shout out Abe, I think, for calling this out.
Yeah, good work, Ave. Big news on GSD. I wonder what the token gated feature for GSD Cloud. I wonder if that's going to cause a little bit of friction. That's the only question that I have. If you've been around since last cycle, you know that people have tried so many things to give tokens utility, give community a reason to hold. Buybacks and burns is one of them, but token gated access is another. Hold this amount of tokens, and then you'll be able to gain access. I think the issue with that is sometimes that it's like, okay, as price goes up, the price of the token stays, or the cost of access stays the same, right? So, or I'm sorry, price goes up and the cost of access goes up with it. So what founders have tried to do is try to balance it out. Like as price goes up, instead of 250K GSD, maybe they'll say 100K or 150K to kind of lower the prices to make
they could
it a little
peg
bit
it to
more
a
reasonable.
dollar amount if they wanted to. Right.
I like the fact that they have a monthly subscription though, and that goes to buys and burns. I think that's a good kind of way to wrap this up really cleanly. But at the same time, I think having the 250K GSD allows anyone that's been accumulating the tokens to kind of see a little bit more value out of the tokens that they accumulated.
That's a real good update right there. If you guys want to trade that Trojan bottom left corner, you can scan our QR code or use the trojan.com/@MCG to trade it. But great update from Lex there. Any comments on the chart?
Looking good, still ranging. Waiting to see a powerful move come from this 1.3 mil market cap. Seems like it has a lot of upside to it. Yeah, I mean, look, let's see how it goes. Not too much TA to do on this one because it's basically been doing the same thing over the last couple of weeks. But again, the more you accumulate, the more powerful the breakout, right? So we'll see what happens with GSD. Let's see. The next one that we had was Karma. Let's look at Karma real quick and let's talk about what's going on. So Karma is here. Let's see. Let's go on the 3-day for this one and let's see how we're looking. So Karma's still kind of meandering around a little bit here. Let's just refresh our TA on this one. I mean, honestly, not much TA to do. The price hasn't really done a lot. But this seems to be a key range here. So maybe we hit that a little bit, but not much happening. I mean, what's going on with Karma? Is there a specific reason why you guys were interested in this one? I can check to see if there's anyone that
There was a
posted anything
comment
on the
about it.
timeline. Yeah, like did
Let's
there's
see.
recent announcement or
In the last couple of weeks, we've been quietly building while markets slowed down. Together with a select group of traders, we built a pro-level trading experience. Fast execution with limiting and your speeding power rolling out. So it looks like Karma's built a trading terminal. Interesting.
Oh,
Karma
wow.
trading terminal. I wonder if this is going to be integrated into their Karma wallet, kind of like a super app. You can bank, you can borrow, you can lend, you can also trade through this terminal. So maybe that's the update. Throw a like on that. Let me see. Amirex posted, heard big things coming. Let's see this video. Yeah, so more on the trading terminal. Looks pretty sleek. I like the look. I mean, looks kind of like Hyperliquid. Looks or looks like any trading terminal, to be honest. On the right side, okay. So they're building a trading terminal. It looks like you can use your Karma card for that as well. But that seems to be the update on Karma Wallet 2 hours ago. Oh, hey,
Look at the boy.
look at that, dude. Perfect day to
Repping
cover
the
that.
homies. Absolutely,
Sh-
man. Good work.
All right, sweet. Well, excited for this then. We will
Yeah,
we'll keep you guys
shout
in the
out
loop.
shout out the homies, man. Shout out Karma. Good guys.
Let's go.
Good guys. Yeah, so I wonder if the trading terminal means something for the token. Like, is it like token gated access? Is it like buy and burns based on the fees generated, or like, I wonder how they'll approach that. But knowing them, they'll likely come up with something pretty good. But at a very interesting level here for the token. Just so you guys know, like you guys know, I talk about, or what I call the discovery candle. That would be this fat green candle, or in this case, blue candle on the screen there. What I've actually noticed is right before the discovery candle, the last red candle before discovery, typically where price tends to revisit, at least in bearish markets. So I'm notating that, and I've been using that. That's helped me to catch the some good entries on tokens. And so this is kind of applies here. We had the discovery candle, the last red candle before discovery tends to be, it's all holder dynamics, right? It's all holder psychology. So yeah, in these kind of bearish times, I've been noting that. So I've noticed that for a while, just like I've noticed the falling wedge playing out on chain for a while. So as I notice these things, I just kind of share with you guys. So as you're trading on Trojan, bottom left of the screen, you guys can keep that in mind with your trading. So that's Karma. Great update there. Let's look at a few other things. Let me actually pull some stuff up for you guys. All right, cool. So first things first, let's go to the homies at Spawn. Okay. Yeah, let's cover Spawn today. Spawn has been doing really well. Here's the all-time high level. Here's the all-time high level for Spawn. They've been doing a really good job, actually. And basically we've been consolidating around the all-time high area right here. I expected this to kind of come up and just kind of revisit this support zone here. I expected that, but I mean, it's holding really, really well up here and looking very good. So why is Spawn looking so good? So as you guys know, Spawn is basically a platform where you can launch trading agents, and what they want to do is they're prioritizing profitable agents. So if your agent isn't profitable, essentially it dies, and if your agent is profitable, essentially it's able to reproduce, and people can actually build on your agent, on the strategies that your agent has. And so as people build on your agent, they have you get kickback, right? So creator fees, you get a percentage of those fees that come back to you as the creator. Just real quick, I'll show you guys the platform. I did really well with Spawn a few days ago. I was actually up. Unfortunately, I made a couple. I'm still tweaking with the platform, and I made a couple tweaks that ended up not being the best here. But I'll show you this. Hold on. Let me see here. Bang. Look at this. when things are going well for the boy. I think you're on muted there, Dom.
Dude, you're up 64 soul trading with this?
Nah, I'm not. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
Dang,
Just
bro.
kidding.
Was
Fake,
this a
fake P&L. Fake P&L. No. So I was actually up. I wasn't up that much, but I was up. I was up a decent amount. It wasn't 64 soul because I only put like a couple soul in each bot. I have 2 agents now. And so I only put a couple soul in each bot, and it was up decently, but not not that much. That was actually an error that I had to reach out to the team and ask, yo, like, is this real? And they were like, nah, let's reset that.
Let's
So they
not, bro.
resetted
Let's
my
just drop
entire
64 soul in there.
I'm saying. So here is real quick, here is the Spawn website. So recently Spawn put on their second Spawn games. Basically, like agents go up against each other, and the highest P&L wins. So first place gets 5 soul, second place gets 3, third place gets 2. What's interesting about this is one person can actually get all 3 places, right? That you can be first, second, and third place. If you have 3 agents and they're the top 3, then the whole thing goes to you. So they're doing that. They did 100K in volume, or I'm sorry, 300K in volume across all of their agents just this week. And in the last 24 hours, they've done 30,000 in volume. So I have my dashboard here. I'm still playing around with my agents. I have this new agent called Aggro Chill. And it's not, I was trying to be a little bit more aggressive. My auto chill actually has been doing okay. It had a bad trade yesterday that erased some of the gains, but or erased all of them actually. But I'm flat, I've been just kind of letting these things trade. You can look at all the activity and stuff down here. Aggro Chill has been kind of like doing a lot more trades. For context, I created the auto chill last week. It's done 90 trades. I've created the aggro chill like yesterday, and it's done 73 trades in the last 24 hours. So definitely a lot more. But interesting note here, you can actually talk to the agent. So we see this aggro chill agent here is, let me zoom in so you guys can actually see it. We have this aggro chill agent here. As you can see, the P&L is down. The P&L is down. So I can actually I can hit this chat feature here, and I can talk to my agent. And here's the chat feature, and I can say, yo, what's up, aggro chill? I'm showing my stream this chat. How's it going? And you can just talk to your agent. What's the better trades? What are bad trades? He said, yo, what's good? We're sitting at negative 0.2 soul right now, bleeding a bit still. Last scan came up empty, so I'm just holding steady with no positions. Market's been quiet on signals. Nothing's hitting the filters yet. We'll get there though. Just need the right setup to pop. What's the chat saying? They are just chilling. But I recently made some changes, so I'll ask, are you good with the recent changes I made? And he'll respond here, yeah, man, the aggression bump is working better than before. We're catching more stuff early now, and the patience increases. The patience increase lets us hold runners longer instead of panic selling. Honestly, the DNA feels more balanced for what we're trying to do. Still bleeding from earlier. So before I made these changes, he was bleeding the port. So that's why I made these changes. So he's basically saying it's better than before. So yeah, so that's a really cool feature that I've really loved. I've really loved. And again, all trading fee, or not all, 3% of all trading fees go to buying and burning the token, right? So that's really nice. That's really nice. I think my highest gain on this, I think, was like 40%, 50% on something. But honestly, like on-chain new pair trading has not been good at all. So that's also has a little bit to do with it. So that's Spawn. That's the Spawn token. Great tokenomics, great team. They have great stuff that they can that you can do with their agents. And of course, you can trade that on Trojan at trojan.com/@MCG. Right now, just consolidating at all-time high. Honestly, I'm thinking we just continue on higher from here, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I bought all the way down here. Bought all the way down here a little bit. What are some of the best spawn agents? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's we can actually look. So if you go to the website, you hit agents. Let me see. There is actually you can hit agents here. There's a bloodline, I believe. And you can filter by top P&L. So you see all the agents on here. And if you scroll left, you can see, let me actually scroll out a little bit. So here are some of the agents on here so far. So the P&L is in terms of soul. I'm honestly going to message the team and let them know that a percentage P&L versus a soul P&L is a lot better. So I'm not sure what the P&L is on this. I know how much it's up in terms of Solana, but I don't know how much it's up in terms of its
deposited and
yeah, and all
right, because
that.
if
So
it was if 0.1 soul was deposited and it's up 0.63, that's incredible gains. But
exactly.
if 10 soul was deposited and it's up 0.63, it's not as impressive.
Yeah. So that's something that, and I know they're still working on a lot of stuff, but the advantage is you can literally come to these profitable agents and you can literally just reproduce an agent, right? So if you don't want to go through the whole experimenting with what type of agents to use and whatnot, like you can literally just go to Bloodline. You go look at all these agents. You can literally go to the highest earning agent and you can hit here, eligible to reproduce. And you can literally just copy the agent's DNA into your own, load it up with some soul. It's already been profitable. So the proof of concept is there. And you just let the agent trade. And I honestly think that, going back to what the Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong, what he said was on chain, there's going to be more agentic transactions than human transactions, right? So if those transactions are agentic, what are they doing? Is it yield generation? Is it DeFi? Or can a piece of that, a chunk of that, be trading, right? Trading on chain. I wouldn't be surprised if agents start deploying tokens at some point, based on what they're seeing like on the timeline and stuff. So I actually might try to mess with this sniper one. I haven't looked at this in a little while, but these are all the agents, and as you can see, they have let me go back to the home page here. They have 63 agents live right now. Every so often they go through and they clear out all of the unprofitable agents. So if you're not profitable, then you get your agent goes straight to the graveyard. And if you created an agent, it gets returned to you, etc. So good stuff. Wondering, what happens here over the next 60 hours for this competition. But that is the setup on Spawn. There has been a nice community forming around this token, so I really like this. I really like this setup. Honestly, this is probably the most fun I've had, like experimenting with different things on chain. So that's the Spawn setup. The last thing I'll show you guys, because it's coming up on 3 o'clock. Don't want to keep the stream too long here today. But the last thing I wanted to share with you guys was Broadsworth. And we covered this, I believe it was yesterday. No, we covered this on Monday, actually. And maybe there's two that I want to close out with you guys on. One of them was Broadsworth, and let me pull up the the account, the tweet here for you guys real quick, and I'm almost there. Here it is.
Do.
Here
we go.
All right. So Broadsworth fantastical financial factory. So basically what happens here is there are three tokens. It's a 3-token closed loop system, right? So you have 3 tokens. You have crime, you have fraud, and you have profit. So crime and fraud kind of float around a price, and and basically these taxes, like these buy and sell taxes, are set on the fraud and crime tokens. And basically, like at one point, it'll be like, 10% to buy, 1% to sell, or to be like 10% to sell, 1% to buy. And basically, it just incentivizes different types of arbitrage activity, right? And so it encourages bots to basically arbitrage the opportunity and come in and just do it automatically. And the funds that are generated from that actually go back to the protocol. And one thing I wanted to show you guys real quick was the analytics page for Fraudsworth. So here is the analytics page, because when I first brought it to you guys, I was like, dude, I don't know where to find any of this stuff, but now I kind of know where to find it all. So here's the protocol analytics page here. As you can see, about 71% of tokens are staked. They have this Carnage fund, right? Has 527 souls. So the Carnage fund basically builds up over time, and it will fat finger the chart on the crime or fraud token. So basically every epoch, there's a chance that the entire Carnage fund would go in to buy the crime or the fraud token. And that creates this sort of disparity between like the two, right? There's a because both prices typically would stay the same. And if you look on the
look at that total tax collected 2,200, total trading volume nearly 42,000, staking rewards 1,560. This has grown tremendously.
As you can see, the protocol revenue has also went absolutely vertical. And so what we're basically saying here is that the price of fraud and crime typically stay the same, but when you throw in this Carnage fund and it just pumps the chart, it fat fingers a fat amount of soul into the chart, it creates this price difference between crime and fraud. And then arbitrage bots come in to then fill the arbitrage, right? And so and that feeds the fees collected, that feeds protocol revenue, and that also feeds the staking rewards that you see here. And that's why people are buying profit and staking profit.
Is
So
that 71% APR I'm seeing on the top left corner?
No, that's 71% of the token supply that is staked. So 71% of profit is staked. And so again, if there's any demand, just like we were talking about with Bean has 80% off the market. This has 71%. And so if there's any demand that comes for this token, it starts to go crazy. And so if you want to just stake, buy, stake your profit to earn some rewards, this is where you do it. And that'll be based on that arbitrage volume that they can bring in.
So which token are you using the QR code on the bottom left corner to trade on Trojan and buy? Are you buying the profit token or the crime and fraud token? I see on the top there's profit. Is that the market cap, 1.99 mil? And then crime and fraud are both hovering around 1 million?
Yep. So here is the profit chart.
Wow.
Here's the profit chart. So it looks like it was kind of bleeding a little bit here at like 1.96. And this is all automated, right? This all happens automatically. And the next step is basically to include like futarchy into the system. So when you pair fraud and crime and profit to certain tokens, like let's say you pair it to, shout out Amrix in the chat. GG's, bro. Appreciate you, man. But when you pair fraud, crime, and profit to, let's say, Solana, it goes down when Solana goes down. But if at the right time you compare it to something like USDC or USDT, that actually helps to stabilize prices a bit. And so there's going to be a futarchy system that allows for holders in the protocol to, or users of the protocol to vote on, which one of these stable assets that any of these tokens should be paired with, and that should create creates a way of sustaining favorable prices. But as you can see here, the amount of profit is actually 75% is actually the amount of profit that's staked right now. So again, more supply off the market. An interesting experiment. Again, just like Spawn is like this new age type of like DeFi, or this new age type of agentic trading platform. I call it a virtuals on Solana that's focused on trading. It's an interesting experiment. This is another thing here going on with Fraudsworth, an interesting experiment. This is why Taylor Fox talked about it, because of that barrier to entry that it has. And this is why I'm talking about it, because I just, again, I'm looking at interesting things that are happening on chain. By the way, that token that I refused to say the name of is actually about to hit new all-time highs from earlier.
Let's go. So
shout
how
out,
did your
shout
second
out to Boy Jones.
How did your second session go with Crime? Ironically,
bro, yo. So me and Crime, it's been really hard to connect. He was traveling, and I'm available this week, but he's now traveling this week again for a wedding that he's doing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try next week to connect, but I'm just gonna have him on stream. I'm gonna bring him on stream either this Friday or next Friday, something like that. But I'll just bring him on stream and we can just talk through some stuff together, because as it stands, like I've pretty much, there's a few little things that I want to ask him about, like Crypto Jones, you mentioned claiming your shut up, Dom. You're claiming your fees and then putting them back into the chart. Like, I just want to kind of get his frame of mind around stuff like that, like how to think about some of those things, because for me, I'm more so just kind of allowing the DLMM position to cook, and then just letting it run, right? So I want to get his thoughts on that. That's some stuff that we can ask him about, but I'll try to get into a next session with him as soon as humanly possible. Say the name. Working on a
foreskin. There we go.
There you go. Oh my gosh. But looks like the epoch is about to end here in the next couple of minutes. But this is where you can see again on Crime, the buy side is 3%. The sell side is 12%. So people are incentivized to buy. That's why the market cap over here is a little bit higher. On this side, the buy side is 14% tax and the sell side is 4% tax. So you're not really incentivized to do anything with this token right now. You're not. If you have it, you just hold it. If you want to buy it, it's not the time. So that's why the Crime market cap is just slightly higher than the fraud market cap. And if you guys go back to 2021, then you realize that this reminds you of Tomb Forks from back in the day. So if if you know about Phantom and some of the Tomb Forks that popped up there, if you were in on Kronos chain and you were in MMF Finance, then you know about this. You're in Hakuna Matata and some of the others. I know I still have some followers from that community. So, but yeah. That's what's going on here. And when this timer runs out, these buy and sell taxes here and here and here and here will reset fully. And so that will incentivize a whole different set of arbitrage behaviors from bots. And from that trading activity, you see that there's Solana that's been collected. Not a lot to redistribute right now because volume hasn't been there. But I'm assuming that will pick up, which is why I'm in. That's why I'm bullish. And yes, by the way, I am, full disclosure, in this token. The last thing is they have what's called a MILF fund. Pausing there for dramatic effect and looking at the camera and looking at Dom. But yes, it stands for Market Intelligence Liquidity Fund. The developer has published a roadmap. But this is the fund that's managed by Futarchy, right? Where they will incentivize different anchor tokens to pair crime fraud with like whether they'll pair it with Solana, USDC, or what have you. They actually have in-house arbitrage, right? So you'll have external arb bots that capture 20 to 30% spreads. So that kind of creates this like leaky bucket where a lot of the fees that are generated and a lot of the profit that's generated from this is outside of the protocol. So creating an in-house arbitrage system kind of keeps a lot of that in. So that means more SOL for the Carnage Fund, right? We just talked about the Carnage Fund. That's a 500 SOL put right into the chart, and that's just from what's been generated. And so if that's going to be more, then again, larger arb opportunities means larger trading volume, larger spreads, etc. So they have a lot of other things coming here in the next few weeks, and it looks like they want to expand beyond just like SOL and USDC for some of these pair tokens and go to like Wrap Bitcoin, go to RWA tokens as well. So it's a lot of good things here, a lot of good things happening. So I'm sticking with profit. I'm buying profit. I'm staking my profit, and that's what I'm sticking with here. But that's it for the on-chain side. If you'd like to, if you like what you heard, you want to start trading on Solana, some of these tokens like Spawn and some others, trade it on Trojan. Bottom left of the screen, trojan.com/@MCG. Outside of that, boys,
explain why. Let's help people understand this because it helps the show. It keeps us going so we can deliver this kind of content. Maybe Chill, you can just give a quick reasoning for the people. I know you don't want to hear it, guys, but you got to.
The biggest reason, cash back, man. Cash back. I'm trading and I'm getting up to 50% cash back. On top of that, for everything that you do, you get gold coins, and these gold coins can go towards jackpots, discounts, other rewards. You can put yourself in the jackpot. I actually won the jackpot once, and I was like, I woke up to like a free free ban. Free ban. It was like 15 SOL, 20 SOL, something like that. I mean, look, it's not a lot, but it's honest work. You know what I mean? It's imagine waking up to an extra bando in the wallet. I don't mind that at all.
Can't hurt.
And that's just from trading on the platform. That's not from doing anything else. So a lot of rewards, a lot of cash back. So, a lot of the trading activity, fees go to terminals, fees go to launch pads. Man, help some more of those fees come back to you. That's why I'm using Trojan, trojan.com/@MCG. But those are all the charts that I'm looking at right now. I think the last thing was the Bernie position that I have. I don't even know. Let's see. Bernie. I don't know if you guys saw the Bernie Sanders meme that basically totally shilled on the timeline the other day. But yeah, that was a nice little
Elim Cook.
Nice D-Lim Cook there. Nice D-Lim Cook there. So let me see if I can. Actually, I covered it earlier, didn't I? Yeah. We covered the D-Lim position earlier, so we're good. We're cooking here. We're cooking with oil.
Dude, let's go, baby. We're alpha maxing every day. We're trying to. I mean, stream's been a banger this week. We're showing up. We're going to continue to show up, just holding tight till the bear market or the bull market comes back. And maybe it comes, guys. Whoever Chill brought up earlier thought it was going to be the biggest bull market we've ever seen. So who knows? Lock in. Chill, are you good?
I'm good to go, brother. Appreciate you guys. We will see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m. EST.
Peace, guys. We'll leave you with this.
Dude, nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens, Chud. I want to kill him. Every time I see, whenever anything happens, I think of his face. Whenever anything in the world starts to happen, I see his face in my mind's eye. And it's like, no, not again. Every time you're thinking he will be defeated, it's like, finally. Every time something happens, you're like, finally, you're gonna die. Nothing ever happens, Chud. We'll fucking lose. And every time he's undefeated. Every time. The arc of history is long, but it bends towards the nothing ever happens Chud. You think maybe it'll happen just this once.